Good evening, everyone, and welcome for the final time on F1 2021 to TTML F1. My name is James Head, of course, going to be taking you through the stream, as always, on this fine Sunday evening. Of course, we're taking the Brazilian Grand Prix from the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and of course, joining me in the comment box tonight, it is Mr. Pepsi Freak. Pepsi, how you doing?
I am doing well here today. It's going to be it's a great day in racing. It's the big triple trifecta, you could say, in the actual racing world, with Monaco that happened earlier this morning, or I guess later at midday for you in the UK, then the Indy 500, which is currently going on right now, and then later you got the Code 600. So it's one of the biggest spectacles in motorsports, and we also have TTML here and a championship decider in Brazil. So this should be all fun, rainbows and squares, and I don't know what, but it's a pretty exciting encounter. I'm going to see two drivers dueling it out at the track they both love.
Definitely so, and of course Tom does lead the championship. But actually, to remind you of what happened last week in the top three results in both the sprint and the feature race, Tom took the win, Linkson second, Jensen third in the sprint race. Of course, bit of drama actually from that sprint race, with of course that incident with Rudy very late on. Indeed, in fact, it was in the feature race that happened, and then in the feature race, Tom capitalised on that and took the win once again. Links finished second, so 2 podiums in a row last week for him, and Noah in third. Jensen, of course, finishing outside the top three for the first time in a number of races. The first time, actually, since, I'm just trying to find it, the Australian Grand Prix, round 7 of the championship, so halfway through the championship. That's the first time he's out of the top three since then. And coming into tonight, Tom Robbo does lead the way on 276 points, 9 points the advantage coming into tonight. That basically means, if you do the maths, Jensen has to outscore Tom Robbo by 10 points to wrap up the championship. That will be Jensen winning and Tom Robbo finishing third, and that is the way that Jensen can wrap up the championship here tonight. Of course, if Tom Robbo outscores Jensen, it's game over, because Tom, of course, will wrap up the championship there. Jensen, by the way, on 267 points, as I say, only 9 points off. Linkson third on 226, pretty much set in stone, I think, for third position, as long as he just gets 1 point here tonight. Rudy in fourth on 195, he's missing tonight, along with MedTC, so they're fourth and fifth, and I don't think they're actually going to be fourth and fifth for that long, because Freddie in sixth on 151 certainly might get MedTC for fifth. Whether we'll get Rudy for fourth, though, remains to be seen. I think that's mathematically impossible, just looking at that. Cosbury in seventh on 97, Zoidemer in eighth on 87, now had a name change to XL Dan. Funky Chicken in ninth on 81, he is back this week, and Aries in 10th on 76 points. And Pepsi, of course, coming into tonight, Tom leading the way, 9 points over the championship. Constructors can also be taken here tonight as well, so it could be potentially that Jensen could be a 2-time champion by the end of tonight in terms of the drivers, and also 3-time champion in terms of the constructors. But Tom and Jensen hold all the cards for the race win.
Yep, Tom and Jensen hold all the cards. They've been 1-2 for most of the season, all of the finishes. And we'll start with constructors real fast first, in the point that Aaron, they're at 50 points gap, and 56 is the max points you can get. So if Jensen has an Australia-esque moment, or a Mazda-esque moment where he DNFs, that could open the door for McLaren to play spoiler, but they're going to have to get basically max points, and I don't think Tom is going to let that happen by the skip's teeth. So McLaren's going to have an uphill battle to try to win the constructors. As for the drivers, again, Tom holds the cards, but we've seen that one mistake could cost you. If he has a bad pit stop, or he makes mistakes somewhere in the center S's, or gets a time penalty and the field's close, he may end up making a mistake here. But one thing we talked about in the pre-race is that there's a chance we get a tie, because Laps 9, 1 point fastest lap. If Tom finishes third, but gets that fast lap points, he and Jensen tie, and the advantage will go to Tom. So, Tom, if he gets fastest lap, he can afford to finish third. So, there's a risk-reward here. But, still up for other scenarios. We'll inform you as the race goes on. But clear cut right now, Tom's main objective, beat Jensen, and just make sure this happens.
2008... Hamilton and Glock, of course, went into the final race. Glock, of course, that infamous moment from Marcel Brundle saying, "Is that Glock? Is that Glock?" We saw that in 2008. 2012, of course, Sebastian Vettel spun on the first lap of the race. He recovered to win the championship. And now in 2022, 10 years on from Sebastian Vettel's success in the championship here in Brazil, it comes down to two men at the pinnacle of league racing here. Tom Robbo and Jensen, of course, out on track tonight. Beautiful blue skies and sunshine. Only the 10 drivers, though. It is a very disappointing turnout. It's to be expected, though, I guess, towards the end of the game cycle and towards, obviously, the end of the season here in TTML. But with only 10 drivers, that means a maximum points haul, a minimum points haul tonight, is basically 10 points. So everything is to play for. Everyone should be scoring points here tonight, regardless if they finish or not. And obviously, we go into the final the final round of the season with Jensen and Tom Robbo only separated by 9 points. Constructors can also be wrapped up as well. Probably looks more assured than our drivers' title, but remains to be seen. And then, of course, Pepsi, we've got the likes of Fleddy, who are fighting out for P3. Lynx looks assured of that P3 position, but Fleddy has got a chance of overtaking MedTC in the fight for 5th.
Yep, that is a possibility of happening here. Again, with 10 points on position, like we said with constructors, it's relatively easy for Red Bull to clinch tonight as long as Jensen finishes. But again, wait to be seen here. Who the heck knows what will happen? As we wait to see, and also with I think Fleddy, like I said, has got a chance to climb up for the ladder here. But first driver out on track is going to be Tom, so our championship leader is going to take the track for one final time here around Brazil and going to try to get the circuit rubbered. And it looks like no one else is making a break. Well, speaking of that, we do see a Ferrari starting to head out right now, so Ferrari will join second with Chalkers. And other than that, though, it looks like the track is going to stay quite cold right now as we wait for the session to tick on by.
Yeah, I think Jensen is coming out the pit lane there as well, but Tom's the first man out on track, of course, 2 minutes already into the session. Nothing has really happened. To bring you up to date, by the way, about the stewards' report, qualifying bans were given to Steph and Chris. Both of them, of course, not here tonight, so the qualifying bans are technically being served up with them not obviously attending the race here tonight. Luca had a 5-second time penalty and penalty points given for an unintentional bump pass with Chalkers in the race, and that was on lap 25 of the feature. Jensen and Rudy, the 3 seconds was removed from Jensen's finishing time, and he was only 2.5 seconds off the leader. Darren Chalkers as well. Chalkers got a 5-second time penalty and penalty points, which mean Jensen moved up a position in the sprint, and therefore Jensen, of course, finished well down the field in the feature race. We go on board there with Tom Robbo on the run down in towards turns number 1 and 2 at the centre S, and we should see what this man has got out on track here. The first of the championship contenders coming through now the left hand of turn 3, then down the Retroposta and down in towards the Cedar del Lago at turn number 4, and Tom Robbo's first sector already looking quite quick. 16.7 on a set of mediums. That's not a bad first sector at all. Coming through the left-hander of turn 4, now through the left-hander of 5, and then up the hill and towards one of the highest points of the track at Ferrajú. Remember, Trulli and Alonso famously made contact in 2009 around there. Tom Robbo, though, in towards turn number 8, and then in through the left-hander of turn number 9, and then at the top of the hill, the highest point on the track, through Laranjao at turn number 10. Of course, this is the highest physical point out on track because you dip downhill through the left-hander of turn 11 and then through Junsao. Tom Robbo already are looking electric on this lap at 50.7 in the middle sector, faster than what we've seen in TTML F2 on Thursday, and Tom is absolutely gunning for this lap. He wants to get a lap time on the board, significantly going to be quicker, I think, maybe than Funky Chicken and Chalkers, who are also on laps on a set of mediums, but Tom Robbo to the line, 107.2 to start off the night. That is not a bad lap at all, but we'll pick up on board what Jensen's doing. He's coming through the right-hander of turn 10 at Laranjao, and then in through the left-hander of turn 11. We'll see what his middle sector is like, and it's a 50.3, so he's 4 tenths up on Tom Robbo.
He's on a set of softs, though, so we know that was going to happen. It was keeping an eye on the temps. 2 tenths faster in the first sector, 4 tenths faster in the second sector. Long run down the straight. The softs are really going to use that giddy up here. We saw Chalkers on a medium, 2 seconds slower than Robbo. But here comes Jensen, going to smash that time. Oh. And it will be a 106.779. So he's going to be about 5 tenths, maybe 6 tenths, if I'm not mistaken, up. And we see Chicken, the last of the medium runners, going to put a 108.479 down, which is down to second. So it just shows that Robbo really put some strong time down on that set of mediums and made him work fast. We saw Fleddy P3 relatively close to Dan. So right now our top 2 main runners are 1-2 currently, but we know Robbo's still got a little bit more time out there on the track to gain. Let's see, Noah's coming through the second sector right now. Lynx also the second sector, so they'll be the next ones to cross the line. And Daniel just started a lap, so we'll see if the FBR man or Lynx can make it, as I think Noah just backed down, so Noah will not be competing in time down here. But Lynx and his McLaren could maybe get close to Fleddy on the run down and along here.
Yeah, I think he might be actually quicker than Tom Rubble through the middle sector by only a couple of hundredths of a second. So this is going to be quite close between the McLaren and the AlphaTauri in terms of the lap times. Lynx, of course, running toward the line, pretty much already secured a third in the title, and he does go second, 107.1. But that lap time from Tom Rubble, he's quicker than Fleddy, he's quicker than Dan. They're no mugs out on track, let me tell you. Aries and Daniels yet to set lap times as well. They're no mugs, obviously. Noah didn't set a valid lap time there. So Tom Rubble in third, a 107.2. I normally think, I said this in commentary on Thursday, I normally think of improvement from a set of mediums to a set of softs, 8 tenths to a second on your lap. Therefore, Tom Rubble should be going mid 106s.
Yeah, Tom Rubble definitely could be going at 106 range. I 100% agree with you on that point. And we'll have to see if he can put, because it's hard to put down a competitive, like, consistently good lap. We know he can do it, but one mistake could end up costing out. We've seen multiple times in the past couple weeks with Jensen, who, after putting in his first time, usually struggles for the second or third attempts to really get grip until the final 2 to 3 minutes, as we do see a time there. A little bit of a competitive run there by Lynx. He jumps Robbo there with a 107.191. So, good run there by him. We got Chalkers coming down, but I think Chalkers,
Noah.
see if it's any more competitive. Oh, Noah as well. We'll see what he can do as he runs to the line, and it's going to be a 106.920. He is going to be P2, and he's going to Robbo down to 4th and Lynx to 3rd.
Yeah, that was on multiple soft compounder tyres as well, actually. So second run on that set of soft compounder tyres, and that's put him into second. And normally track evolution around this track is quite potent. You can obviously get multiple runs in on the same set of tyres. That's what Chalk is obviously doing. He looks like he's just doing a practice run at this stage in the Ferrari. 108.6 currently, but Jensen out on top, Noah in second, Lynx in third. Dara saying Noah is a big fraud. Definitely don't want that sort of behaviour in the comment section, please. Aries though, just gets caught wide coming through the seat of the log with turn 4, but it was a purple first sector, so this might be Aries' good lap as he now comes up the hill, filling in for Red Bull, of course. The driver can't pick up, though, I do not believe, any constructors' points, so Red Bull will only be defined to what Jensen scores out on track compared to, obviously, Lynx and Fleddy, who are full-time McLaren drivers. But Aries filling in nonetheless. He's through turn number 10 at Laranha, and then in towards the turn 11 and 12 complex in towards, of course, John Sauer. Kimi Räikkönen famously got lost in 2012, and Aries is up on Noah's time, so this is a very competitive lap by the Shizou Academy driver. He now runs up the hill through the Sabina Dos boxes at turn 14, and then through the final corner at turn 15, which is of course approaching now as Aries will run to the line. I would say it's a 106.8 here from Aries to the line. You may as well just call me Mystic James. 106.8.
Yeah, good lap there. Speaking of Raikkonen, coming to NASCAR for Watkins Glen in August, definitely going to be a fun little trip out there. Probably consider making the trip there since it's only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. But back to the race here in question. We got Chicken, who is on an outlap about to start his run here. We got Jensen going to giddy up again. Tom Rabo actually coming out right now. I think he is on a set of, I want to say soft, but it's a little bit hard of an angle to see. Yep, those are a set of softs there, red wool. So Tom going to putting down his, trying to make a run for pole here. We'll see in about a 1 minute and 30 seconds time before he starts his run here and see what he can put down. Seeing who else is around currently, we got only ones on laps are Chicken and Dan. Dan is 1/10 up, so right now Dan could be somebody to keep an eye out for. Currently P7. If he gets a good enough run, he could definitely at least, right now his average, definitely get up to P4 if he keeps his pace going and Tom get out of the way here. So we'll see the Aston Martin driver do going through corner 6, corner 7.
Yeah, coming through the top of the hill in toward Loran Harriet, then turn number 10. Dan has looked quite good through this first sector. Of course, formerly known as Ordemas, had a bit of a name change during the week, and Dan now coming through in towards the final couple of corners in towards John South. 50.4 puts him around Noah sort of time, I think, in the middle sector, so he could go quicker up to third here. Funky Chicken is also behind on a valid lap as well, so both of them will be setting times at pretty much exactly the same point as they come towards the line, maybe only with a few seconds difference, as now Dan comes toward the line and he goes fourth, just 8 thousandths of a second behind Noah. Funky Chicken now running to the line as well, and he goes seventh with a 107.2. But the man we're going to go on board with though is Jensen, who I believe is just invalidated coming out of turn number 4. So Jensen's invalid out of turn number 4. Tom Rubble though has just started up his lap coming through the centre S. We'll see what this first sector is going to be like. If it's a 16.3 through the first sector, he is there or thereabouts. And it's a 16.4 through the first sector. So again, he's there or thereabouts through the first sector, runs wide slightly through turn number 4, through turn 5, and then up the run in toward Laranha at turn 6. But he's already nearly 2.5 tenths up through that first sector alone, and it looks like he's absolutely nailing turn 6 and 7. And then in towards turn 8, of course, at the next corner, in towards turn 9, and then in toward the left-hander, or the right-hander, I should say, of turn number 10, of course, where Hamilton and Albon famously came together in 2019. We don't want the repeat of that, I hope, here tonight. But Tom Robbo runs through the middle sector. This is quick. This is quick from Tom Robbo. 50.1 in the middle sector. He's already quicker than Jensen's lap time. He gets slightly squirrely coming out of Jun Sao. If he improves that on his final run, that should be a 106.5. I think it's going to be 106.6 though from Tom as he now runs towards the line. This is going to be provisional pole, and it's a 106.6. Good lap time by Tom. Jensen, though, matching his response in the first sector. He's only 4 thousandths off him in the first sector, and he's improving by a tenth already.
Yep, still a lot to play for here. He's going to have to clean there, but a tenth will put him a lot closer to Tom.
Oh, he's invalid.
Just invalidated. Went a little bit wide, going into 7, heading into 8 there, and he just put on the white rubber and decided that's too much for you. And he's going to have to go on, probably going to cut pits here and gear for another attempt, but that is a kick in the teeth. At the very least. And that's something we've seen. You see something, I'll let you for it.
I'll tell you what, Noah's looking really quick on this lap. He's 3.5 tenths up in the middle sector. He's matched Tom Robbo's middle sector. This is quick from Noah, the FVR man, possibly on for a shock provisional pole. Noah to the line, and he does go provisional pole, 106.5. How do you like them apples to spice things up? Noah out on top, Tom in second, Jensen there in third is back into the pit lane, but Noah, out of absolutely nothing, has got provisional pole with still 7 minutes to go in the session. A bit of a turn-up for the Bucks.
I've said before, I've said again, no very strong qualifying, so we definitely see him get those good paces and those good runs in quali. So I'm not shocked Noah's up there in P1. I guess Brazil is a good track. But to finish my point on Jensen, as we see the past couple weeks, Jensen does okay in that first opening quali run, and then he kind of just second, third attempt he takes, he's a little bit sketchy, where he's good, but he either invalidates or he's just trying to get a feel for what he can push for, and then on the fourth attempt he may run for it and run for glory. So Jensen is definitely something to keep an eye on at the very least. We get about 2-3 minutes to go. But right now, I think if he goes up there again with 5 to go, he's probably still going to put another time now. Now Lynx goes P3 with a 106.760, bumping Jensen down the fourth. And if you're Tom right now, you're smiling a little bit because Jensen's falling down the order. At the same time, you're getting balled whole by a bunch of other drivers as well. And look at that top 5, even top 6 with Dan. They're all super close. So I think Aries and Dan did come into the list at the last corner trying to make it for the line.
Yeah, he definitely did. Aries there was on board with him. It looked very scrappy through the end of the first sector. He hit the curb at turn 4 and exceeded the Largo. He's going to go for another run, though. He clearly feels like he's got the pace. I certainly think he's got the pace. And, of course, we saw with Noah's multiple runs on a set of softs that multiple runs can work and can get you up the field. So we'll still run on board with Aries. Obviously, Daniel and Chalker's also on a lap. I think they've just came off a lap, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But Noah out on top, Tom Robbo second, Lynx in third. Aries through the first sector, 16.6, nowhere near what he was setting in the first sector, because he's actually quicker out of everyone, and he's just invalidated coming out of turn number 4 as well. But Noah out on top, Tom Robbo in second, Lynx in third, and I think nobody is at the minute on a lap. So Noah out on top, Tom second, Lynx in third. Bit of a turn up for the Bucks. What does Jensen know? He's in P4 at the minute. He's got about a 2/10 gap to find, basically, to Tom Robbo and to Noah, who's obviously ahead of him as well. What does Jensen need to find on this lap? Because potentially he's only going to have 2 cracks at getting provisional pole.
I think if I'm watching, it seems like the sectors is back because the third sector is pretty flat. It's one corner, and the third section, as long as you don't validate the successes, you usually get a good run as well. So the second sector is where you make or break on this run here, where the most time can be gained or lost. So he needs to find a little bit extra time in the second sector because we saw Noah find a lot of time in the sector. He went to P1. Robbo as well, pretty hard in the second sector. He went to P1. As Jensen is now heading out on the track right now, as he is on his out, we're only through the first sector, so we're going to have a minute before we see him take an attempt here. But considering the lap around here is about a 107-ish range, that's about 2.5. So if he doesn't like the first run, could bail, come back in, and try one more attempt on a set of softs, but that would be cutting it close, at the very least. One more thing, right now, the gap between first and 10th is about a second, so generally speaking, this field, it may be a little bit on the shorter side, but right now, I think every driver has at least a chance to get on the podium at the very least.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just typing a message in the Discord because apparently Darryl wants an invite, and I have a feeling we can't give drivers invites, if I'm not mistaken, in qualifying, because it normally messes up the lobby. That's what I've been led to anyways.
I'm not 100%. I do not have a rule book in front of me. If someone can probably clarify, I think Kermit's probably around somewhere. He'll probably be able to clarify the rules there. As Chicken comes in, doesn't put down a competitive time. So right now, Jensen making his make-or-break run here. His run for glory. It's 3:29 left. So This will be his main attempt here. He's going to go hard into the first corner here, hard into the center assets here. Going to try to outbreak the car, pinch the apex. Looking good. Ewan actually just joined the qualifying as well. So if Ewan could join, I think Darga can join as well. At least I'd make the case, because we can't make the same case. Now Tom Robb going to come out of the plane here. Not going to interfere with Jensen, but definitely a little bit of shake the fist. 2,800's up, but that is a first sector for Jensen, though. So Jensen is going, and he is backing off, even though it looked good. So I guess he wants to let Robbo go and doesn't want Robbo holding him back on the lap, a little bit of pressure maybe. And he's going to gun up for a second attempt here. So Jensen bailing this run with 250 to go, and is going to put all his eggs in lap.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Jensen just got caught very scrappy out of turn number 4. He was up in the first sector, and then he just completely backed off his lap just because he purely rode the curb too much, and that is why. Ewan has joined the session as well. Funky Chicken has said in the chat as well, by the way, in the TTML F1 chat, what if they join and qualify and it can glitch the lobby? I think the majority of us don't want that. That's exactly what I've been led to think as well, and I believe that is in the rules and regulations. Maybe drivers should actually read the rules and regulations before trying to join the lobby and ask for an invite. But no ad on top. Tom Robbo second, Link in third. Jensen there preparing up for another lap. Tom Robbo has just got onto one ahead of him as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Tom can do as he comes to the centre S of turn 2, then to the left hand of turn number 3. Of course, Noah, 106.5, currently out on top. Tom Robbo's first sector, I know he's got a 16.3 in him through the first sector. Not close to that, but he's quicker than the first sector. 16.4. Oh, he rode too much curve through turn number 4. I thought that was going to be an invalidation through there. Now up the hill and towards Ferradura at turn number 6, but it's Noah out on top. Tom in second, Links in third. Jensen through the first sector as well. I think matching them actually through the first sector, so this is going to be quite tough. It's going to be a little bit of a blink and flash moment here out on track, but Noah out on top. Tom Robbo second, Links in third. As I say, I'm not sure what Jensen's first sector was looking like. The Mercedes stopped on the track as well.
I was watching it, only 4/10, so not a lot of gain there, not purple at all, so his first sector, his first one was better. Tom put down a blanker, and we'll see what Jensen does. 2 temps up as well, but not purple. So right now, Tom's looking good to take pole back. Jensen can at least gain some time.
49.9 in the middle sector. Tom Robbo's absolutely charging to the line. This should be pole position. Tom to the line, 106.3, and Jensen comes to the line as well, and he only goes third. He's behind Noah. Tom Robbo out on top. Noah in second. Jensen third. Dan, by the way, went fourth as well, so good lap time by Dan. Link's there in fifth. Ari's there in sixth. He's looking quite quick as well. He's not matching Tom Robbo's middle sector, but he is looking quick, maybe even for second position here. Noah to the line as well. Thinking validating he's going on to another run, but Ari's now running to the line, and he goes fourth behind his teammate, but Tom Robbo out on top. Noah in second. Jensen third, and Noah's gone for a spin through the centre S, and he's hit the wall with the rear wing there, so maybe rear wing damage on the car as well. He was already invalidated. He must have picked up a this next lap, and Noah there in second position at 106.5. Jensen is pretty much done in qualifying. Tom Robbo is certainly done in qualifying. Aries is done. I don't think anybody in the top 6 is on that bar. Links, but he's just ran wide and he's done the Kimi Räikkönen through turn 12.
Yep, Flatty just done as well. We got Chalkers, who's temps down, so he's done. Chicken, maybe, possibly. We'll see. He's just entered the sector here. He's a fresh lap here. See what he can do. Other than that, on just clip the curb. So, yeah, I think the only driver really on a competitive run is maybe Chicken and Daniel here. Everyone else is validated. Now Dargard has joined, so we will have 12 runs here. So we'll see what happens here. As I think Dan is also on a cooldown run. He just went, yep. So finishing it up here. We'll just check on Chalker Daniel. Daniel through the third sector here. See what he can do at the end of Sector 2. Is his time for the competitive? He's running around the same. He can get a good run down the straight here. He should be able to put that at least, maybe get the Chicken. Chicken right on behind as well. Both going to be fighting for 9th and 10th. Can they get any higher? Can they jump Ferrari or maybe the McLaren sandwich in between? Here comes Daniel to the line. It's going to be a 107.328. No improvement for him. And Funk Chicken will split the McLarens. That will put him in 7th behind Links. I have Fletty, as I think we're getting a little lag already right now, so hopefully it settles itself at the very least. But that is going to do it for qualifying. Tom Robbo has done what he has to do. He'll be leading him off in P1, and Noah being a bit of a spoiler for Jensen and making that road a bit hotter for the VSR man.
First blood and first round goes to Tom Robbo. But it all depends now on what the race will bring. Tom is quick around here. I know Jensen is much quicker in terms of race pace as well. I hope Jensen gets no one towards turn number 1, and then we've got a real cracker on our hands here in Brazil. But it is Tom Robbo out on top. It is Noah in second and Jensen there in third. Regarding the rule, by the way, in terms of drivers joining in qualifying, it can glitch the lobby. If it doesn't on this occasion, maybe final race of the season and all that, we can give a little bit of a pass. But it all depends, obviously, on what the rules state. And the rules, I'm pretty sure, state that you can't join in qualifying, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's the final round, but rules are rules at the end of the day. And I'm sure you can appreciate that if you are one of those drivers who has joined. But as I'm not getting the grid order up. Have you got the grid order up?
I'll run it for you. Tom Raup first, Noah in second, Jensen in third, Ayers in fourth, Dan in fifth, Lynx in sixth, Chicken in seventh, Led in eighth, Chalk in ninth, Daniel in 10th, Dargan Smith 11th, Ewan in 12th, and the gap between Robbo and Noah is 2/10, and the gap between Robbo and Chalkers from 1st to 9th is about a second. So, like I said, a second separates the top 9, actually top 10, so it should be quite competitive here, and I think it will be quite an interesting show.
Yeah, not a bad qualifying session at all there. Now we go into the race, and now it all depends on what the weather is going to do out here. I really hope it's going to be a clean, dry race, because we want as many drivers as possible on the same tyres and having the same advantage as everyone else out on track, and this is what we want, of course, coming into tonight, and hopefully, as we say, we will get this good race underway. It's absolutely bucking it down out on track. It's full wet conditions in Brazil.
Buckets.
Goodness me, it's 2012 all over again. Vettel moment possibly coming through turn number 4 to see that the Lager, of course, got caught up. Jensen's got a set of inters on, which is interesting in his pit box. I can see that on my screen. Not sure what everyone else is doing in terms of the tyres, but full wet conditions for the title of the side on TTML F1. Who on earth has decided to write the script tonight?
Shades of what happened during the Spa sprint race. Tom takes the wrong tires. He may end up shooting himself in the foot. So Tom right now is thinking about what happened in Belgium. Is probably in the back of his mind. Does he play it conservative or does he play aggressive? There's only a little bit of a risk here. We're going to have to wait 10 more seconds here to figure this out. And we'll see what tires everyone is on. But this is definitely a Hollywood script. Where is the writer? I need a word with him.
I think, honestly, I think the majority of them will go inters. I really do think they'll go inters. I can see, certainly. Let's have a look at the strategies. Everyone's on inters. Yeah, everyone's on inters, as I thought, because there are puddles on the track, but it's one of these scenarios where it's raining heavily out on track, but the rain is not going to get any heavier. It's going to start off, obviously, inters. It seems like it's into conditions, but we could obviously see, early on in this race, a transition to the full wets. And remember, about the intermediate compounder tyres, 25 to 30 litres of water as Tom goes spearing off through turn number 3 at the centre race. I think that was intentional, maybe just to get a little bit of outside grip on the track, possibly, for Tom's perspective. But he doesn't want to be doing that, of course, in the race. What was I saying? Yeah, in terms of the inters, he spun! He spun
Luckily,
through turn 5!
No damage formation lap. He'll be okay. They don't recognize damage on formation lap, so he'll be fine. But if it was real life, that could have been curtains for Tom Robbo. Tom Robbo needs to back it down and make sure he brings this thing safely to pit box here, because he doesn't want to risk doing damage here and possibly making his tires colder than they have to be. But if he's struggling this hard right now, it makes me wonder as well, partially in the same boat, is that how many people maybe have wet setup and how many have dry setups on? Because if he's struggling that much, it makes me think he may have a dry setup on, and at the same time could be waiting for the rain to break. So we may dry by end. Oh, he scrolls again. I think, Tom, right now, if you're Jensen, you're watching this, you're salivating, because Tom is really struggling to keep that thing on the pace. And oh, there he goes again. Oh, my God. Tom Robbo, keep it calm, please, for at least the first couple laps. My heart can't.
A, he's either showing off, or B, this is genuine sliding out on track. And if that is the case, he's got A, dry setup on, and B, he looks like he's going to struggle at the start of this race. So this is going to be absolutely potent to see out on track what is going to happen. If Tom spins on the first lap of the race, it opens Jensen up into a whole kettle of worms to try and wrap this championship up. But here we go. The title decider in TTML F1 is about to begin. The 5 red lights are coming on here in a very soggy Brazil. The 5 red lights are on, and it is Lights out and away we go, and Ewan gets a
Ewan.
jump start for a drive-through, but Tom is absolutely electric off the line, and Jensen's possibly going to have no one towards turn 1 as well. He goes all the way around the outside into the centre S. Can he try and get the job done? He hangs it. It's 3 wide, actually, through turn number 1, and look at how Tom Roberts got away to second and a half clear. Ari's there in second. They managed to go 3 wide through the centre S, but look at the gap. It's nearly 2 seconds of Tom Robbo. Tom Robbo leads the way, and Jensen's going to get through on Ari. So now the 2 title protagonists over the first 2 positions coming to the end of the first sector. Down there in 4th, Noah there in 5th has lost a few positions, a little bit of scrimmaging in the background. Ewan losing a position there to Dara, and actually gets that back through turn number 5, but Tom Robbo leads the way. Jensen in 2nd, Ari's in 3rd, and all of that happened because of a 3 wide scenario. Tom Robbo now clear by 1.5 seconds out on track. And basically now, what does he do? Does he go away and pull away from Jensen on pace? Or does Jensen now have that comeback? And I think, through this part of the lap, Jensen looks like he's going to get the job done for second position and try and close in on Tom as Noah launches the one on Dan.
Well, I think maybe Dan was just because Noah's really struggling right now in these wet conditions. He got bogged down in the start, allowed Jensen to get a good start, and then Aries even got a better start and decided, even though technically he's not his teammate, I think Aries kind of put a little bit of a hole on his teammate there and cost him at least a second. He has the right to do it. He's a competitive driver. He's not flying the flag for Red Bull and the constructors. He doesn't get to go to the yak party if they end up winning the constructors. So screw him, is say. We got Dan right now, Noah. Noah going inside on the Aston Martin. We're going to see last time we're going to see the Waterman Aston, and it's going to be the Alpine making a move. So Noah the 4th, Dan the 5th, and Noah could probably have an A back. If he doesn't, he's maybe able to capitalize. As those are probably the closest pedals only got on track. I think Lynx is get a good toe on Dan here, but not going to have anybody to stick it up to the inside. Thinks about actually going to go for it. I thought he's a little bit too far back, but I guess Dan was playing a little bit too conservative, and Lynx will take the spot. So Lynx to 5th, Dan to 6th, Noah still in 4th.
Yeah, good job there by Lynx. He's 3rd and he's into 5th, already purring in that medium on that intermediate compound. Sorry, he's up into 5th position as a result. Jensen, though, look at the gap. 0.5 of a second. I wonder if Tom's actually waited up here for Jensen and letting the front 2 or the front 3 now begin to pull away from Noah. And if that is the case, Tom has given his title rival a big opportunity here to obviously not only come back at him, but also overtake him out on track. And that's going to be quite good as Darren and Daniel now go side by side, coming to the left-hander of turn 11, and Dara gets the job done. He forces Daniel out wide there, coming in towards Jun Sao, and Dara through, and he's into 10th, Daniel 11th, Funky Chicken there in 12th. But Tom Robbo leads the way, 6 1/10 of a second. Jensen there in 2nd, 60% of EOS, and it's the fastest lap of the race as well, as Tom has pretty much got around 10% more EOS at this point than Jensen. But on settling down, of course, the EOS not enabled here on lap 3 would have been so soggy that we can't even see some of the cars coming through turn number 2. Tom Robbo leads the way, Jensen 2nd, Aries in 3rd. Everything has settled down very nicely, and this is now the point where drivers just begin to build into their rhythms, build into their setups as well, get used to the car, and then obviously the attack will begin.
Yep, Robbo, right? Actually, something worth noting right now is I do want to say Tom Robbo already has 2 warnings for exceeding track limits. So right now, if he's kind of maybe making mistakes, that's what probably happened instead of letting his fighter back in. But the problem is if he toes Jensen in, Aries is right there. So Aries, again, may not be flying the flags for the Red Bull Constructors tonight, as he's not going to get many points. But he could play spoil for Robbo. Robbo right now is already behind the 8 ball with 2 warnings. And if he can't keep it clean, he's got to go another 33 laps in wet conditions running once, or else he puts himself in a really bad hole, because 3 seconds would be right now to about, I think I want to say Lynx. So that would be a big fall, but still a long ways to go. But definitely going to have to change Robbo's driving style a little bit, as now Lynn makes a move on Noah. So put Lynn McLaren up to 4th. And at least one McLaren is putting himself in a situation to try to get a better game to constructors, as Noah's going to answer back going into the center S's. He's going to put a good deep lunge in there, but it looks like the McLaren going to get better traction on the inside. So Noah, a little bit of an aggressive lunge there. He's going to try to answer back again going into corner 4. And if he gets a good toe, Lynx is going to get defensive. Will Noah have a chance to make anything happen around the outside? Possibly. He'll think better of it, puts a wheel in the grass though. Will stay behind Lynx, so keep Lynx in 4th for the time being.
Yeah, both former IFR drivers as well, by the way, Lynx and Noah. Congratulations to IFR. I know I said it on Wednesday, but they did wrap up the EML Championship as well, and they did field the team, actually, on Wednesday night as well, and it was LRB who, of course, wrapped up the title there. I think it was by 9 points, if I'm not mistaken, over TTG in EML. And, of course, these 2 former IFR drivers, Lynx gets a little bit snappy, coming out of turn number 8 and 9 there. Noah there in 5th. They've got ultimate good respect, I think, for each other. They've been fighting so far this race, nice and clean. 13, nice and good. Well, basically good out on track. It's actually saying that Noah's just gone completely wide.
Yeah.
Coming through turn number 11. Goodness me, that was so far wide. I thought he was trying to make a break outside of the track, but Noah 6/10 away from Lynx. Not going to get close enough. Speaking of getting close enough, though, Jensen, is he going to have a run at Tom in towards turn number 1? Fastest lap of the race. Doesn't look for the lunge. He's trying to channel that inner Max Verstappen as Daniel is off. Coming through turn 13 at Sabinas dos Boxes, where Alonso famously spun it in 2003 and crashed, obviously, along with, and I'm trying to think of the other driver's name, comes to me in a second, but there was 2 drivers, obviously, that crashed out then. Daniel has lost his front wing, I think, and he's into the pit lane, and hopefully doesn't retire because points are available. A minimum of 8 points as now the rain begins to ease out on track, so the interconditions will definitely come more into fruition. It's Tomo that leads the way, Jensen second, Aries in third. If you just tuned into the stream, you haven't missed it much, as Daniel has retired from the session, which is disappointing, to be honest, because obviously minimum 8 points available. He's still in the championship fight in his own right. Just continue on. There's points.
Yeah, there's points, but I think some drivers prefer to not be pun. But yeah, there's points at the end of the day, but at some point, I don't know. It's a weird catch-22 where there's some things. Now, Daniel has called it a day for his season here in TTML, so we wish him well. And if he does come back next season, hopefully he finishes some of these races. But a little bit of the passive-aggressive tone done there. We'll go back to the battles that we have here. Gaps growing about everything's about a second. Only Robbo and Jensen's about under a second. Same thing with Fletty and Dan. So everything else, though, looks like we're gaining since everyone's kind of running their station here, holding station. Robbo takes the fast lap back, so that puts it back his camp, at least for now. But I do agree, rain is coming a lot lighter here. Question mark is that we know the intermediates probably can't make it to the end without really struggling. So the question mark is, when maybe pit? Because if you pit too early, you may end up putting yourself in a hole.
But if there's dry running coming, and this rain has really eased off in the last couple of laps, so I can only assume they've gone on inters with the promise that it's going to dry up pretty much when the race gets going into its infancy, and I think that's what's probably going to happen, because Tom, as he makes a mistake in towards turn number 8 there at Laranha, and he's there in the lead of the race at the minute. Jensen there in second, Ari's there in third. But Tom now is feeling the pressure. The rain is easing out on track. They're beginning to lock up a lot more as well. And that's basically now transitioning the inters to what was an extreme tyre, basically, into now a halfway house between a set of dries and a set of full wets. So Jensen there in second has got to try and come back. But in his own right, him and Aries have just made a mistake. And now Lynx is suddenly right on the back of Aries. And he's going to probably look in towards turn number 1 if he's close enough. He's 3/10 away at this moment in time. He is going to continue to close up. He's not going to be close enough in towards turn number 1. But look at that, fastest lap of the race. The track is getting quicker and quicker as the race goes on, and that surely means with the rain is getting easier out on track, or the rain is easing out on track a lot more, that surely means we're going to see transition to dries very soon.
Yep, we'll definitely see a transition sooner rather than later. Definitely by the end of this, you can see a little bit of those guys coming off in the corner forward there. Just a hint of it, not a lot, but definitely at least enough there to prove that dry weather is coming, and we'll have at least something by the end of this race to see the very least. But yeah, Lynx really making a good charge here. Keeping Aries honest, keeping that top 3 blanket honest there. So good on Lynx there, driving hard there at the very least. Let me quickly knock on wood, make sure I don't put a jinx on him, because next thing you know, going into quarter 10, he'll be spinning. So, but other than that, though, again, yeah, everyone just kind of getting the rhythms right now, running their own races, just waiting for a possible dry period to hit before they go kind of all-out attack, because Jensen's in kind of an oddball situation right now, because right now he is not going to win the championship where he currently is, but if he goes too hard and ends up going on a lunge on the inside and actually self-spinning it or possibly taking himself out, it falls him down to 6th, 7th, 8th, and that means championship over. So Jensen has to be a weird, hypocritical situation where he's got to be conservative but also aggressive, as now Robbo sets another fast lap of the race, so he takes away from Lynx and puts it back in his camp.
Yeah, it does indeed, and of course that fastest point isn't really going to come into effect, to be honest, because Tom had a 9-point gap over Jensen coming into tonight. Jensen ideally needs that fastest lap, but he's shown no real sort of pace so far in this race. He's keeping the gap consistent, but he's not closing on the back of Tom, and Tom is now beginning to master Jensen, I think, out on track. And I think Jensen, honestly, he either needs to pick up the pace, or he's saving up his tyres, or a little bit of both, because he needs to pick up the pace. He's 9/10 off him. The gap was 5/10 per second a couple of laps ago, so obviously the gap has gone out, and I think Tom is saving up more ERS than Jensen. This is all working into Tom's favour right now.
I think, again, Jensen's playing cat-mouse here. He's waiting. He's keeping it conservative. He can go more aggressive if he wants. We've seen him gain time when he needs to gain time. But right now, I think he's saving his resources. He's trying to wait this out and wait it out because ERS, he's favored by 10 right now. I think he is currently just kind of sitting there. Actually, sorry, my mistake. Ares is favored by 10 over Bravo. Jensen's about 5 behind. But I think right now Jensen is just kind of saving his stuff here, playing it safe. He can go more aggressive. He can go higher if he wants, but like I said, if he goes too hard in these wet conditions and ends up going 1 center S's, it's a warning that possibly give him a 3 at the end. So I think right now he knows the wet's strong in. He can be conservative, be aggressive, but if you make a mistake, it's over. So be conservative right now, play your cards right, go aggressive near the, because it's only lap 9. It's like, I guess, using the 8500 example real fast, you can't win it in the first 50. You gotta be in the position to win by the end. And right now, being that far back ain't the end, as I think we see, oh no, it gets loose as well. I think some people are starting to struggle.
Yeah, Lynx had a major moment coming out of turn number 4. Dara side by side as well with Chalkers just in the background of the shot coming out of turn number 4. And I think Chalkers held on to that position for 8th position. Dara there in 9th. But Lynx had a big moment coming out of turn number 4. Remember Sainz in Monaco? It was pretty much like that. Obviously today, Lynx doing exactly the same as what Sainz did. Obviously not recovery of the season, but still a good save nonetheless. Lynx there in 4th, Noah there in 5th. Tom, though, look at the gap. It's beginning to go up again, and the purple middle sector really now bringing to tell that Jensen has just not got any sort of pace at these tyres and at this stage of the race, and he's 1.3 seconds behind. He's lost 0.3 of a second. Tom bangs in a new fastest lap of the race and goes another 0.2 quicker than Jensen this lap around. So Tom really beginning to find the pace. Jensen is just sitting back, waiting in behind, but he has to use up more battery to do that. And the more that you use up the battery, the less you're going to have in the late stage of the race. So Jensen is now stuck in the halfway house. He's got to push, but at what expense?
I think worth noting, I just was the ERS. Remember, 2 laps ago they were at 80. Just down that long straight, they just burned 60% deployment. And true, it's easy to save it on the rain conditions, but Jensen's now down to 14. Honestly speaking, something is kind of worth noting in that point, because if you're using that much ERS, they got to know something we don't, because why use that much on that one long straight when you've been saving it the first 9 laps? So both use it at the same time down the long straight. It just catches me off there for a bit. Maybe it just goes to the fast lap, maybe nothing, but it's a telltale sign that something's coming.
Well, Tom has got 22% more ERS than Jensen, coming through the left hand of 11 and 12 in towards Jun Sao. And Tom is saving up more ERS than Jensen. It's basically going one off, one on in terms of that. Jensen now beginning to use up a majority of his ERS. Same with Tom. They begin to just gap out each other. The slipstream effect is so potent around here. Tom's trying to get him out. But look at how much Jensen has used up. Jensen's used up another 5% extra than Tom Robbo. And it's now a 25% difference between Tom and Jensen in terms of the ERS. And of course, they've got to really use up that energy. And speaking of using up energy, Darrell right on the back of Chalkers pulls to the inside line in towards turn number 1, and the Mercedes has to run all the way up the pit wall to the inside line of turn number 1. They lean on each other, they get stuck on each other through turn 1 and 2, and Chalkers just has to back that off. Dara is through on the inside line at 2, gets the job done. Needed like Nakajima and Coulthard in 2008 through there, but Dara through and he's into 8. Chalkers there in 9. Chalkers going to have a fight back in towards turn number 4, but Dara is through and he's into 8. They basically just got interlocked on wheels, and you know what happens when you get interlocked on wheels. Normally it ends up in a spin. That time though, they were very respectful to each other. They didn't want a collision. Chalkers backed off. Dara through and he's into 8.
Yeah, you'll love to see it there. Good respect by the 2 drivers there and keeping it relatively clean. Also, one other thing worth noting is, I love my speculation is, you can see the commentary right now, Jensen had his fuel light on for a second there. Actually, Aries does, my mistake. So Aries running a little bit of lower fuel road. Everyone else looks like they're relatively okay except for Dan. So nothing really to note there other than Aries and Dan like to throw the fuel card at a little bit lower speed. So just something worth noting on that point. But yeah, Jensen right now using ERS trying to get closer. But right now, Jensen's at 27. Wow. Tom Bravo at 55. So Jensen, he is playing conservative. He is not making a look at it.
It's double the amount of ERS he's got over Jensen. This is really impressive from Tom at this moment in time. It just comes to show he's conserving his energy usage while having the pace as well. And look at how much Jensen has used up this lap around. It's now pretty much 40% difference between Tom and Jensen. Jensen's having to use up so much more of his battery just to keep with Tom. Tom, if he uses up that battery, he'll be off into the distance. Jensen, at this moment in time, if it doesn't dry up, Jensen's got absolutely no chance to get Tom Robbo here tonight. I'm sorry to put it. I know it's 8/10 of the gap with a third of the race through, but Jensen at the moment in time is just not showing the pace at all. He does not look comfortable out there out on track. And the only way he can gain is obviously put Tom Robbo under pressure. But why put a driver under pressure when you know he's got double the amount of ERS?
Yeah, because all he can do is put it back, but he did save a little good amount there. He got it back up to 51, but Tom Robbo's now at 94. So they're saving in the middle section. Brent Jensen has to use more to stay close, and now Robbo can go his 90 down the long straight, so he'll gain a bit here, and he'll pull up just because of the slipstream effect, but eventually he's going to run out the F3. That's Noah. He's crashed.
Oh! And that's in the wall on the right-hand side. It's a safety car. Safety car deployed.
Oh, it looks like how Massa crashed, like, in 2016.
Tom is trying to let the safety car through on the inside here. The safety car's coming out of the pit lane, but Tom Robbo and Jensen are both ahead of the safety car. So they're going to be joined on the safety car the next lap around. Dan, Chalkers decide to pit in. They're going to go fresh set of inters, obviously. As Dan obviously goes on for a fresh set of inters, Chalkers goes in, and that's going to be a fresh set of inters as well. Don't blame it at all. Maybe they were going to pit in anyways in the next couple of laps, but now with Funky Chicken and Ewan into the pit lane, that is going to be a fresh set of inters. So Noah Crash coming out of turn number 12. I have a feeling there he's got caught on the outside curb on the exit of Junsao. He's trying to recover it one way, then the other, then gone the wrong way again, then try to recover it, and he's ended up backwards or sideways pretty much into the wall on the right-hand side. Very weird place to go off, but he's obviously caught the curb there, and that has obviously sent him off spinning into the wall, and he's ended up where he was. So Noah there down in 11 and is out of the race, which means now a minimum of 10 points available to any single of these guys who still finish this race. And we are a third of the way through here in TTML F1, the title decider between Tom and Jensen. And well, with the safety car out, I think it's a good time to say that Tom has probably had the advantage in the first third of the race, but now with the safety car out, Pepsi, Jensen brought back to temperature, brought back in terms of the ERS as well. It's now back to an even playing field.
Yeah, it's back to an even playing field. They get to save the ERS here. I was going to see if anyone's going to pit. Their top two will not. Aries will pit. Lynx will follow. I'm assuming Fleddy's going to come in as well. So it's going to put Jensen to Tom Robbo. Even though, yep, we're going to Fleddy actually staying out. Flight staying out, Dargut's coming in, so bit of a mixed bag there. Top three obviously staying out there. If the rain... Ooh, saw something. I'll let you say first.
Darryl looking up into the pit lane, nearly went cascading into the right-hand side of the wall. The car was just inching across. But luckily the AI just kicked in there and he's still in 6th position. Carry on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, top three, even though intermediate changes aren't that great, per se, but it's a 13-lap gap, so it's going to allow Aries, Lynx, and a few other drivers to get kind of scrappy on those intermediate tires. But it is kind of noting at the very least that I'm kind of at top three. Maybe if you're Jensen, I'm kind of shocked you didn't try to follow in there and maybe try to get off leader strategy. You'd probably end up losing maybe one spot at best to Fleddy, but knowing how quick he is, he could get around Fleddy quickly. So just kind of shocked that Jensen maybe didn't try a different strategy there to try to get off the leader strategy, because right now, in the rainy conditions, he doesn't seem the man of himself. He seems relatively a little bit behind what he usually is. So just shocked he didn't try something different there.
Yeah, I think Jensen, honestly, I'll use this as a bit of a basketball reference. He's behind the A game at this stage, and Tom Robbo obviously is there in the lead. He's got the A game over Jensen. It's simple as that. We've seen it in the first third of the race. A game? Is that a basketball reference? I don't know.
No, I think you meant behind the 8 ball would be the
eight
point,
ball,
and that's
yeah,
a billiards reference. That's in billiards, or what you call across the ponds, snooker.
Yeah, but snooker, pool, billiards, same thing,
yeah.
Just a different sport for each one. But Tom Robbo leads the way, Jensen second. Basically, Tom Robbo has got more pace over Jensen. That's what we are saying here. Fleddy there in third, now can obviously back up Aries and then Lynx. So the McLarens are actually in a bit more of a positive perspective compared to the Red Bulls. And it's exactly what we saw in real life in Monaco today. Ferrari, Red Bull, Red Bull, Ferrari, Red Bull, Ferrari. And that's exactly what we're seeing here, obviously with Red Bull, McLaren being the second, third, fourth and fifth in this field. Tom Robbo obviously being the exception rather than the rule. But now everyone's going to group up. The safety car, I imagine, will be in this lap as well. So Ewan and Funky Chicken will join back on this lap around. Safety car will come in, but Aries is going to have significantly fresher tyres compared to the top three. He's going to have, I'd assume, about 50% less on those tyres compared to the front three. So surely Pepsi, Aries is going to be the quickest man out on track, and surely he's going to be getting all of these three guys and the safety car restart.
Aries is very punchy. We saw him on that open lap. We saw he was really hanging okay on Jensen, but it did seem by the end of the run he was falling to touch distance here. So on those fresh tires, he should be a bit more punchy here. We're only in second 2, so we're not going to see a safety car get called yet. We'll see it coming off the next corner here. But yeah, Aries is going to be a bit more punchy here and definitely get striking. Definitely going to probably run Fletty quickly. But again, Robbo's best friend right now is Aries, but so is Jensen because he needs another car to get around Robbo. So it's catch-22. Robbo can help Jensen, but can also help. Aries can help, but can also help Robbo. So Tom will lead him away. Tom decides to go and decide to push, maybe to the last corner to try to catch Jensen napping.
Yeah, and Tom Robert now is the virtual, but Marlander, he's now the virtual safety car, and Jensen is there, pretty much right underneath his rear wing, and this is going to be the safety car restart. That possibly could decide the title. It all depends on when they say go. I think it'll be after the DRS detection point, which is here, and then, obviously, going into the final corner, into Archie Bancadas, we should say go, as I think Jensen nearly tapped the back end there of Jensen. Jensen nearly tapped the back end of Tom, I should say, and Tom goes, and look at that, Jensen slept off the start, and Fleddy's up the inside line in towards turn 1, and he can overtake, of course, because back to green flags. He tries to go down the inside line. There's absolute skittles going on in behind. Chalker's Funky Chicken, Dara Ewan. I don't know what happened there in the background. I didn't see that, but Tom Rubber leads the way. Jensen in second, Fleddy in third. Initially, Jensen slept off the line, and look at Lynx. Lynx is going down the inside line of Aries in towards turn number 4, and Aries actually pulls across on him slightly. Lynx up the inside line. I'm trying to hold on for dear life here because I'm thinking I'm one of the drivers, but Lynx is through and he's into 4th. Nice move there on Aries, and Tom Rubber leads the way. Jensen second, Fleddy in third. What happened there? Because it looked like a bit of bowling happened in behind.
I got a bit of a bad angle there. I was running, I think, on Doggett, if I'm not mistaken, but one Mercedes, I think, may have been chicken, threw up in the inside, and he ended up clipping the wing or side pod of the Ferrari. He went around, and the Ferrari spun as well, and it was just pandemonium in the back. There were 3 wide fight in the back, and ended up taking both Mercedeses and the Ferrari of Chalkers not out of contention, but just probably putting behind the 8 ball. Sorry, Chalkers and Dargan. Funky Chick's actually still in the back, so I think it was Dargan Smith that threw a move on Chalkers or something. But one Mercedes is now behind the 8 ball along with Chalkers. Everyone else pointed at least in the right direction, but very overzealous on that first run to the corner there.
Yeah, all I saw, and that was Darren Chalkers going pretty much sideways. The rain has intensified, by the way, in terms of the safety car restart. And there's Lynx to the inside line of Fleddy, in towards turn number 1, gets the job done, and actually Lynx goes straight on, and Fleddy's going to try and cut the undercut around the outside, in towards turn number 2, and then through 3 through the centre X, but Lynx is through and he's into 3rd. Fleddy picks up a 3-second penalty, and now he's there in behind, is just waiting, maybe to pounce, but the front 2 pull away. The rain has got significantly heavier out on track. No wonder guys put it early for a set of inters, and now look at this, because Lynx has obviously got no pace whatsoever. Fleddy looks all over the back of him. Is there going to be team orders again to let Fleddy back through as Aries now runs the inside line, coming through turn number 7 in towards turn 8 of the Ranhat, and Aries is through and he's into P4, and that was absolutely crucial for the Red Bull driver, and it seemed like nearly a 2009 moment where Trudy obviously went nearly into the wall or with contact up the hill. Aries there through and he's into 4th though this time around. Fleddy there in 5th, and now fresh runners on the set of inters, 3rd and 4th. It doesn't look like they're coming into play though. It looks like warmer inters are the tyres to be on, even though I think now the track looks fully wet.
Well, right now, Lynx is kind of cutting into the gap right at Jensen. Robbo was 2.2 during the second stint. Now it's down to 1.9, so we'll see how long it holds right now. As now Aries actually even being Fleddy, so I think it's a little bit too early. Now Fleddy's actually coming in, so Fleddy going to make a move here and come in the pit lane here. Back to Jensen and Robbo, though. Right now, Jensen needs Fleddy, Aries, Dan, someone to catch up to Robbo, because he cannot win the championship even if he gets around Robbo. He needs someone behind him to try to make a move. Full wet still by Fleddy, so Fleddy going to try to go for the undercut here. Shades of what happened last week in the sprint race in Mazda. He's going to try to get the jump on the rest field and make it work. The question is, will it be a gain or will it be a loss? We'll keep an eye on Fleddy for right now. Well, I'll keep an eye on Fleddy while you watch the top battle, and we'll see what happens right now. Robbo and Jensen still 1-2, and Jensen needs to find a round Rob ASAP.
Yeah, there are puddles forming on the outside of the track, just coming through the top part of the hill, coming through turn number 8. There's a yellow flag in sector 2, and that's Dara Smith off coming through turn number 6. Fleddy now obviously will gain as a result, so it's not going to be typifying, but Fleddy actually stuck pretty much through the first sector there. 13.1 seconds, I think I made that on average. So Fleddy is there, right on the back of this. And if he catches Chalkers in these next couple of laps, it's full wet conditions out on track, and this is going to be absolutely typified in terms of what Jensen can do. Are the leaders coming in? No, Jensen's in! Jensen is into the pit lane from second. This is going to be for full wet. Everyone stays out, crashing through our camera shot there in towards turn 1, but you can just tell in terms of the intensity hitting the track, it's really teaming down. Jensen is now going for a make or break decision. Full wet conditions, Chalkers and Dara are staying out as well, and is Jensen going to be side by side with Dara possibly coming out the pit lane here as well? Camerons are really not helping with this. Jensen's coming out the pit lane. He's going to be well ahead. Yeah, Jensen's going to be well ahead. Freddy hasn't really caught much though. This is the This is the decision that could turn the championship either way. Because Jensen now on a full set of wets, it's still not giving me his camera angle. There he is coming out the pit lane. Tom Rubble there in a set of inters. They're all staying out, and Jensen for full set of wets.
Checking for Sector 1 type right now. Best lap, he's only 1/10 down his best run, though it is at least wet conditions. Tires can work. At least looking at first stint here. See what he does for the second stint here and gain time. So it looks like wets are about the same round to the best and fresh of the intermediates here. So it doesn't look at much of a gain yet per se, but make the undercut. You could make it work right now. If you're Jensen or Fled, hoping that they pit in sooner or later and they follow the leader. We'll see at the end of Sector 2 here, coming up relatively shortly. We'll see where Fled's second is. He needs to be
Tom's in.
160. Tom is in. Tom gonna follow it and cut it off. Not take a risk. Ooh, it's risky. Even if he makes it, you gotta cover Jensen. It's better to cover Jensen. Take the lead. Here comes Fletty. Always a set down this time. I think it may be a bit too early for Wets.
I think Jensen might get the jump on Tom Rubber here, coming out the pit lane. Full wet conditions go on. Jensen is there, passing the start-finish line. This is going to be close, you know, coming out the pit lane. Jensen, of course, is going to have the run. The inside line is going to favour Tom, but it's this point here. Jensen, I think, is just going to be behind, or is he? Because Tom Rubber, I think, nearly hit the wall, coming out the pit lane, and they're going to be nearly side-by-side, and they are side-by-side, coming out the pit lane, and Jensen jumps Tom Rubber. Jensen jumps Tom Rubber. The undercut of the centuries through, and Dara spun out of turn number 4, or turn number 3 even, through the first sector, but Jensen is ahead of Tom Rubble. That now turns everything on its positions, but Tom Rubble there in second, then there in the next second, is doing everything in his power to just stay there on the back of Jensen. All he needs to do is stay there, and he's won the championship.
Yep, right now, also worth noting though, fast lap in Tom Robbo's camp. So if Tom Robbo does fall down the third, that lap not be improved. So right now, Robbo, he gets down the third, he still wins his championship. So right now, he just has to hold station. So right now, Jensen needs Robbo fall down the fourth if he wants to win this title. As we'll see if anyone else is a pit in here, coming in the straight. Got Link staying out, Airy staying out, Vince coming, staying out, Ewan staying out, Pickens staying out. So top 5 and I'm assuming 6 tier chalkers all staying out. So they think the intermediate tires are still good. So if they can make it to the end, oh boy, if they does not get enough, it may have been a mistake for Jensen because Jensen could have won this. So right now, Jensen just has to hope it gets wetter.
And he's used up more ERS as well as Tom Rubble. Apologies about the lag that might be coming through on Pepsi's end, by the way. I'm not sure if anybody else is hearing this sort of, like, lag coming through on your mic. I'm not sure if it's your mic or your internet connection, I don't know. But we'll still continue regardless. Lynx leads the way, Ari's in second, Dan in third. The rain is absolutely tipping it down here in Brazil. And Jensen, for the first time in this race, is pulling away from Tom Rubble. And this now is the defining moment to pull out that gap between Jensen and himself, and Tom Rubble there in second, in the next second. He's there in 8th position at the minute, but this is the first time Jensen now is beginning to come alive on these full wets. This is exactly what he needed. He didn't need the full dries, he needed the full wets to come into play, and Jensen is an absolute master of his craft. It's 0.8 of a second separating between these guys, and Tom Rubble mastering the exit of the corners though, when he keeps on trying to nudge that gap a little bit down out on track. But Jensen there in 7th, Tom Rubble there in 8th, leaders come through and they all stay out once again. So now I think the inter runners are staying out because conditions are going to change and it's going to get lighter again before the end of the race.
Yeah, that could have been the mistake. It's just Jensen, hoping the mud fix, by the way, did give it a quick recycle here. If not, we'll probably get another one. But anyway, Jensen is just it's just a kick in the teeth because he thought it was going to get wet enough. It may get wet enough, but you're in the top 3, 4 right now. There's no reason to pit, ride it out, see what happens, because if you pit now and fall behind Jensen and Tom Robb by a wide margin, Robbo and Jensen are right about the same averages. They need to be 5/10 slower than average intermediate tires, but not fast. So it's a kick in the teeth more for Jensen, because if Jensen stayed out, this would have been his championship. But he feels like it's wet enough, and he thinks it's going to get wet enough or maybe, just maybe, it was a situation where the top three's intermediate tires were starting to come down to a cliff level, and they would have to pit eventually, and they thought wets would have been the choice. So just shows that maybe pitting on the safety car would have been the better choice. But that's if it's a bunch of candy and nuts, anything was possible.
Yeah, Jensen is closing in, but he's not really closing in enough, if I've got to be honest. And the sun just glared through that coming through turn number 12. So obviously conditions are going to improve. Ewan made a really bad mistake coming out of turn 12 there, and then up the hill through the speed of the box. He loses a touch now to Dan there for third. But Jensen has only gained around 7-8 tenths of a second. This is going to be absolutely key, because if the rain starts to stop in the next 5 laps of this race, which I think it would, the wet compounded tyres are going to go off the cliff like that, and Jensen and Tom are going to lose their place like that. They're not really gaining at this point in time, so the question I'm going to ask you, Pepsi, is, if this rain starts to ease out on track, will Jensen and Tom actually still win this race? Because I have a feeling they might not.
I say no as well. If it eases off to the point where it gets intermediates, the wets are going to, like I said, fall off a cliff. And they're so far back right now that they're not getting enough time. They're not going to get, if I just check quickly the gap to the leader, the gap is currently 14 seconds. We do see a car, that's Dargan Smith. That is not going to trip safety cars, he'll get back on track. But the gap right now between Jensen and Lynx is 13 seconds. And he's not getting enough roads, and you have to gain about a second a lap to even have a chance to get things. So right now, if you're Jensen or you're Robbo, you're rooting for this thing to stay. But another in the catch-22 moment is that if the rain stay heavy in the top 6 have to pit, Jensen and Robbo are going to be an island of their own. So there's no thing to gain. So right now, Jensen is just looking good for Jensen hopes right now, and Robbo is looking all right. But right now, Chalkers could be a bit of a thorn in the side of Robbo and Jensen here as they'll try to navigate around the Ferrari. Yellow section 1, that's going to be Dargan Smith around again. So nothing worth noting at the very least. He'll get it refired again, but at least Dargan Smith is keeping his fender in to try to get some points, at least for his cause.
Yeah, he's continuing on, which is really good. And of course, Mercedes need as many points as possible. So I think because they're in 4th or 5th in the championship, but I think, if I'm not mistaken. Jensen is going to have a run at Chalkers down in towards turn number 4. He's not going to be close enough. And look at the ERS advantage as well that Chalkers has got. He's got 15% more ERS to be disposed of. And Chalkers, he said in the chat, in the Discord, that he could potentially be a Latifi out on track. This is the Latifi moment, because Tom was right behind Jensen. Chalkers is just going to hold up Jensen. But look at the rain. The rain is easing off once again out on track. This is exactly how I've called it. The rain is now easing off out on track once again. Jensen is getting stuck behind Chalkers on a set of Inters. Inters are then going to quicken up again. Jensen might be stuck behind Chalkers for the rest of the race. And there's nothing he can do about it, because in this last half a lap or so, the rain has completely eased off once again. And then in 2 or 3 laps time, Pepsi, it's going to be Inters.
Yeah, that's a bit of a teeth at the moment. That just to quickly correct Doug Smith, I think an Aston Martin, so there's no points gained for Mercedes even if he stays. But regardless, Chalkers going to be under pressure. Jensen had to make a move. He cannot sit behind Chalkers' weight. He has to go. He's not going to be close enough. How aggressively he can lunge here going 1. He's going to get a toe. Will he try to send it? Yeah, he is. He has to do it, and he's going for it. He knows he's going to go, but the Chalkers is going to stay there. He's going to hold the outside. Jensen's going to get a toe, and Tom's like, thank you very much, Jensen, for doing the hard work. I'm going to go around, and I'm going to follow you. This is a nightmare. Not going to get the toe. He's going to go up the inside. Jensen may try to cover off here, and it looks like Robbo not going to get enough traction yet, but eventually he'll get around. So Jensen did all the hard work there, and Robbo was just like, thank you very much. I'll follow you too. And that's Dargan Smith off again, and he'll go down an official lap to almost everyone in the field. But Jensen's just like, what do I have to do to keep this AlphaTauri behind me and keep a car between us? What do I have to do? How that work, and he follows through. Yeah, carrying like a person in the project.
And to be fair there as well, Chalkers was fighting for position. He was entitled to fight for that position. And look now what it has brought. Jensen and Tom were back within 5 tenths per second of each other, and Chalkers is there in a set of Inters, and perhaps he's going to stay there in a set of Inters, because Jensen is now losing time to the Inters ahead of him, and he's having to use up a lot more ERS than necessary. Tom Robbo's got 90% ERS. Darren Smith has ran again, coming through Jensen 13. He's in the wall, and Jensen in. Tom Robbo in. These are for Inters. All of the rest of the guys can stay out on a no-stop strategy pretty much to the end. Lynx perhaps could win this race. At this moment in time, though, it's not good enough, because Tom Robbo is in behind Jensen. It's only going to be a 1-point gain at this stage. And at this moment in time, Jensen is not going to be wrapping up the championship. Dara speed into the pit, and that might be a retirement coming for the Mercedes. He's going to go on to a set of intermediate compounder tyres as well. As I believe we've had a bit of a desync in the lobby as well. I think Chalker's desynced slightly there. He's there in 6th position, Felly there in 7th, and Jensen Tom 4/10 of a second behind, coming out of the pit lane each other. And Fleddy is 7.5, well, he's 10 seconds actually up the road. Jensen there and Tom, 8th and 9th position, not good enough. There's another yellow flag which I think was just, it was just one of them fake yellow flags that normally Codemasters brings out. I think that was a result of Dara Smith's spin coming through last lap around. Might have just glitched the lobby slightly. Ewan on the back of Dan though. This is for potentially a podium finish out on track. Inters, by the way, Jensen's a second quicker already compared to Fleddy. Fleddy's on the wrong tyres. It's all Inters all the way. And Ewan now on the back of Dan tries to launch it in towards turn number 1, but Dan still holds on and he's in 3rd position. Ewan there in 4th, Funky Chicken in 5th. But fresh Inters are a second quicker for Jensen and Tom Robert compared to Fleddy. More than a second and a half now, and perhaps it's going to be 2 seconds a lap as Fleddy decides to pit in and bail.
There's those 33 seconds. This is a weird situation. Let me get another safety car. I think this, honestly, is probably the first time in TTM history where the champion in the side race is not going to be in the top 3 interviews for podium. Obviously, we'll add him just for purpose points, but that is going to be such a weird moment in the sense that the driver that won the championship ended up reaching possibly 7th, maybe 6th if he gets Renson. If a safety car comes in late, the question mark of the race is then they'll be bunched up, they'll have fresh intermediate tires, and just maybe the top 5 pit. So it's not all doom and gloom for Jensen yet, but he needs someone to cause a safety car here. And with the way Darwin Smith's driving on a set of wet tires, he may be the one that causes it. Accidentally or not, speeds in the pit lane again. So and now he's retired. So there's any chance of Doug interfering with this race. So right now, Jensen's got his voodoo doll out right now from the cockpit, and he's just finding anything he can find to cause.
It's Ewan on the back of Dan, running down in towards turn number 1. There is yellow flags in towards turn number 1 as well. But Ewan, I think, is just going to have to sit and suffer at this stage because there's yellow flags through the first sector. And it's all because of a stupid AI car coming out the pit lane, which is absolutely ridiculous. That shouldn't be happening in this game. And by the way, Dara's AI went on to a set of soft compounder tyres. Just saying, that might start before the end of the race still. Ewan there on the back of Dan in towards turn number 4. Not quite close enough. But look at now, Jensen is at Funky Chicken again. I think that's a bit of a desync going on with Funky Chicken on his end. Ewan on the back of Dan once again running up the hill, not close enough in towards Ferragura. But Tom on the back of Jensen doesn't need to do anything at this point. Tom will be crowned champion if they remain as they are. But this is going to be for 7th and 8th position because Funky Chicken, remember, he's in a bit of ghost mode at this stage. Dara's AI finally pulls off the circuit after a sector of pretty much where he could have pulled off. At various points in that first sector, he pulls off on the right-hand side, which is absolutely terrible. That's the AI to blame rather than him himself. But Jensen has gained 2 seconds on the back of Chalkers. It's not enough at this stage, but all of these guys are a set of Inters who actually decided to stay out in a set of Inters. They are absolutely reaping the rewards in this race here in Brazil.
Yeah, who knew that safety car incident that was caught by Noah's crash? You pitted, you would have won it, and like I said, that mistake is probably going to haunt Jensen for the rest of the night. That if he just stayed out, he'd be tripping. Even if he finished 3rd, Robbo was going to be in 7th or 6th because of the mistake. So that would probably been enough points. So it's just going to be a sad boy hours. But with 7 laps to go, it's not all doom and gloom yet. We got Ewan and Daniel fighting. Jensen just takes the fast lap of the race. It just shows fresh intermediate tires are the way to go. Steals it from Robbo. So if they do get back up to 1-3, that would still favor Jensen. But that's my point. You got Aries and Liz fighting. Dan and Ewan fighting. So if you're a Jensen fan, there's still a chance we get something. So they're getting a little bit scrappy, fighting for the first step of the top step of the podium and the 3rd step of the podium. So it's not all doom and gloom yet. I want to keep reiterating. Tom has one hand in the championship, but not both hands. He's got another 6 laps to go before he can put his other hand on said championship.
Yeah, Aries and Lynx, though, are very, very good. Yellow flags, by the way, in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Ignore them because they're totally doing my head in, to be honest, out on track. Lynx, though, leads the way, 7/10 of a second. Aries there in second. Ewan chasing down Dan in towards turn 1, but he is derating down the straight as Ewan, so he's not going to get the move done. And again, more yellow flags are plaguing the end of this race because Funky Chicken is completely desynced now on my screen, and he's going ever further back. I believe Funky Chicken is in 5th position out on track at this moment in time?
Yeah,
he is. He's ahead of
fifth.
Chalkers.
He was
So
before the desync.
Yeah, he's in 5th position, and I would say he's around about 6-7 seconds, I would say, ahead of Chalkers, before, obviously, this desync actually happened. So Funky Chicken is there, probably around 6, 7, 8 seconds, somewhere in that margin ahead of Chalkers at this stage. Jensen, though, gaining. He's getting another 3 seconds over the last 2 laps alone. More yellow flags just for the desync, but Funky Chicken there is in 5th position. We can follow him along quite easily because the only speck of the Mercedes there, that blue speck going around the bottom right-hand side of your screen, follow that because that is your point of reference where Funky Chicken actually is out on track before he desynced out of basically the session.
I call that more teal, but that's just me personally, because blue is probably more of the Red Bull. But regardless,
yeah.
May want to get you checked for red-green color blindness, James. But anyway, yeah, turquoise, teal, you can call it whatever you wish. But anyway, Dan, D-line this straight, but so is E1, not going to have anything happen here. Link still keeping distance on Aries. And again, another weird moment you could say is that move Link's made on Aries. Yeah, it's still a long way to go, but could have easily put him in position to win this race. So, just who thought that a random move on lap 12, if I'm not mistaken, where it was a battle third, ended up possibly giving the wings to Lynx. But, again, he's got to finish still here. He's got to bring home. So, still a long way to go. Just that's another fast lap. He is flying. He is trying to get there, but it's 29 seconds to Lynx. So, it's 8 seconds to Chalkers, probably double that, 16 to Funky Chicken, and it's 28 Link. So as now Flighty fast lap away from him, you have a fancy yellow flag there, just ignore it. And yeah, just holding position.
I want to cry at these yellow flags that's coming out on circuit because they're absolutely ridiculous. As Ewan tries to dive it down the inside line, and by the way, Ewan is driving with no helmet on all of a sudden as well. I've just noticed that on my screen. He's there in 4th, driving with no helmet on. Surely that's a disqualification for the Alfa Romeo, but he's trying everything in his might, even with no helmet on, to try and get this move done for P3. This has become now comical, I think, out on track. Funky Chicken is now a lap down according to our screen. He's still there in 5th position. I trust you. And Jensen's obviously gaining on the back of Chalkers as well. Whether he'll gain before the end of the race, I think, remains to be seen, but I don't think he is going to. We might catch him final lap of the race, I think, out on track. But Lynx leads the way. Aries in 2nd, Dan in 3rd, Ewan in 4th, Funky Chicken there in 5th. He's just crossed the line to start on to lap 32. Chalkers there in 6th. Then it's Jensen, Tom Robbo and Fleddy, the 9 drivers of the Cody, continuing on here in Brazil. I really hope you've enjoyed this race, because it might have not been, as Jensen now sets the fastest lap of the race out on track and pulls more clear from Tom Robbo. It's not enough though. Jensen ideally needs to be ahead of Chalkers, and all of these guys in the set of inters basically now need to fall over each other and then end up spinning, crashing into the wall, because Jensen has now got absolutely no hope, and I think he realises that, so he just wants to try and pull away from Tom Robbo out on track and prove a point.
But it's still not going to be enough, even if they all spin, because he needs some finish in between Jensen and Robbo. So we need someone to come in and then come out and fight him. So it's safety car looks like that chance for safety cars going by every second of the race, and the tire fall off's not going to be hard enough that they're going to have to pit. So Jensen, divine intervention. If Jensen ends up happening, Jensen's going to be heading to a church tomorrow on Monday, because he's going to have to thank whatever Lord he believes in or whatever Lord is out there to have any sort of chance to get this race here. Divine intervention. The Alpha Lights have to want to ignore that. Thing worth noting. But yeah, back to E1 though. In no angles, it looks like he's in a helmet, but other angles, it looks like it's a bloody nose car. So very weird indeed.
Yeah, very weird indeed. He's there still in 4th position. Link still leading the way. Aries in 2nd. Dan in 3rd. Ewan in 4th. Chalkers in 5th. Jensen is not going to gain on Chalkers before the end of this race. I'm now absolutely convinced that that is going to happen. So all of these guys of 7 have played an absolute blinder out on track. They lead by 0.5 per second though. Link's over Aries. The gap still there. And Aries, I think, has got maybe a lunge in him to try and get this job done. Because, obviously, Link has got more ERS. But I think Aries has got more pace, and it's only around a 1% difference in terms of the EOS at this point, so it doesn't seem like much, but Lynx out of that gets Harry's out of his slipstream range. Then you've got a ball game on out on track as Ewan again gets quite close to Dan in towards Jun Sao as well, coming on the mini-map there, but Lynx leads the way to the line. 3 laps to go in the title decider here in Brazil. Is anything else going to happen in this race, which has been, I've got to say, one of the best races I've commentated on in Brazil and TTML. Lynx leads the way, Harry's in second, Dan in third, Ewan in fourth. Man have not had the attendance. Man have only had 9 drivers out on track still. But I tell you what, this has been a title decider that even we can be proud of, and even these 9 drivers who have fought valiantly to come here tonight, or these 12 drivers I should say, to fight here tonight, and obviously get an attendance for tonight's race to actually make it happen. They're proving it out on track, and apart from that incident, I think, on the safety car restart, it's been really, really clean. Probably one of the cleanest races of the season.
The only incident you could say is, safety car restart in lap 1 where 2 drivers collided. Other than that, it's relatively clean there. Tom Rabo gets 3, so it's not going to mean much because unless everyone pits. So, again, that could have been detrimental. If he was first right when that happened, that could have been very bad. But, again, probably the worst thing Tom Rabo did was follow... because he had to pit anyway, because tires wouldn't have made it. The smartest thing he did was follow Jensen in and follow what Jensen did, because if he came in, he should have probably followed him in next lap or whatever, but he ends up, again, drive by Rabo, and again, unless he crashes out, is championship, because it could actually happen too. If he DNFs, Jensen would have enough points to win it, so Rabo right now, probably his best bet is just hold. Don't force anything. You got a 10-second gap to Fletty behind. Jensen in the grass, and he's just gonna kind of let. Jensen around.
Jensen spun.
Yep, Jensen spun. Yep. So that is Kurt for Jensen. That is all she wrote. Unless Rabo crashes, Rabo right now has no threat behind, no threat ahead. Should just take this last 2 laps home, or I guess lap and a half. You got technically Fletty 2 laps home, so it just needs to bring it home. Don't spin it. No mistakes. Because you need points, and just bring it home. And Tom will be your champion for TTML Season 7.
Yeah, but still, yes, a crown winner here in Brazil, because the gap is increasing now between Lynx and Aries. Out in front, we have one more lap. The yellow flags are again out for Phantom Funky Chicken out on track, but Lynx leads the way. Aries there in second, Dan in third, Ewan in fourth. It's been a really good race. I thought, honestly, Jensen was in the lead of the championship, so that's why I shouted as much as I did, but I realised Tom Rubble is. So Tom Rubble there in sixth. He's on the way to being crowned the TTML Season 7 champion. More yellow flags as we come toward the line here. Onto the final lap we go in Brazil. The final 4.2 kilometres out on track for these guys to win this race, and Lynx has now been set after by Aries and the German right on the back of Lynx, and Lynx is there leading the way. Can he prove to himself why he's got the form? He picked up 2 second positions last week at Monza in the sprint race and in the feature race, and he's got Aries bearing down on him as he comes through Descida del Lago at turn number 4, then up the hill and towards Ferradura at turn number 6. Tom Rubble bangs in the fastest lap of the race to put even more points between himself and Jensen at the end here, and Lynx leads the way by only 0.3 of a second, coming in toward Loan Harriet turn number 8, then through the left-hander of turn number 9. But Aries has only surely got one more chance, and that is down the straight on the back of Lynx. Lynx is looking considerate, and Lynx and Aries he spins it coming out of turn 10, and now through turn number 10 at turn number 10, and then to the left under turn 11, and then through Jun Sao, and Aries is pushing way too much. He's like Carlos Sainz in this car, pushing too hard coming through Jun Sao, but Lynx looks like he's on for the win. He's been eluded so many times this season in terms of a race win. 2 second places last week at Monza. This time it's going to be the big one, and it's going to be the final race of the season. Lynx to the line, wins in Brazil from Aries there in second. Dan being chased down as well for third, but I think it's going to go Dan's way because Ewan is running out of the ERS to the line, and Dan finishes in third, Ewan in fourth, and all of those guys are the set of intermediate compound tires who stayed out as Chalkers get sideways coming out through Jun Sao at turn 12. Tom is catching, but with that 3 second penalty will remain behind regardless, so Chalkers will finish in 5th position. But Tom Rubber to the line is your TTML, and he bangs in the new fastest lap just to put it into perspective as well. He's your new TTML Season 7 champion, and the old champion has to give way. He finishes in 7th tonight, disappointing from Jensen's perspective, but he ran well. Fleddy there coming across the line to finish in 8th, and of course Funky Chicken, we're going to wait 2.5 minutes still for him to come round to obviously complete, but Funky Chicken did finish in P5 out on track, so just to confirm about that, so Tom Rubble 6th, Jensen 7th, Fleddy in 8th, No, sorry, Chalkers in 6th, Tom Robles 7th, Jensen in 8th, Fleddy in 9th.
Yep. While we wait, we don't get to that top 3, but I guess the question is, we're adding Robbo, presumably we adding Jensen, because they did win the Constructors Red Bull, so both of them. We'll add all 5 currently to the while we wait for Mr. Funky Chicken to finish his laps here. So we add them all right now. But yeah, great championship fight, to say the very least. They should both be proud of what they put on at today, regardless of what happened.
Yeah, definitely so. Ewan, by the way, saying in the chat that Dan was a bus out on track, purely because as well that Ewan didn't actually have enough ERS to try and spare up the thoughts. Funky Chicken, by the way, is legitimately still going out on track. The timings might be glitched, but trust me, he could still get the fastest lap of the race here. I'm not being serious here at all. I think Funky Chicken can still pick up the fastest lap of the race. He's got one more attempt, but I don't think he's going to get round in time. For the time, obviously, glitches here in the lobby. But Lynx takes the win. Ari's there in 2nd. Those intermediate runners who were inspired to stay out, stayed out. And there was the absolute call of the century here in TTML this season. What a win by Lynx, and it's absolutely well-deserved. He's been knocking on the door all season, and he finally gets his breakthrough in the final race of the season. And what better way to do it than in Brazil?
Yeah, it sets yourself up good next season. End it on a win, set yourself up for the next season. So that should give at least Lynx that next, like that monkey off his back. You got that first victory, now set yourself up and getting another victory, then another one, and working your way towards possibly becoming a champion one day in TTML or another league. Who knows? But it's good kind of momentum to keep himself riding. Still waiting for the join. We got 18 more seconds for the lobby. Hopefully it doesn't black screen. We can at least see Lynx celebrate as now Aries has joined, but we'll wait for the clock to run out here before we start the interviews.
I really hope that the clock's going to run out, otherwise we're going to be here for an absolute night, I think, as Lynx comes to the line there to obviously take the flag.
Up, it's 0.1, so if you cross the line, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think this will be
It won't happen. It won't happen.
All right, so we just get... I guess we'll just leave, or we'll just let the track drive around here while we do the interviews.
Yeah, I'm going to quit the menu, just so people don't get distracted by what's going on there in the lobby. But fantastic race, obviously, here in Brazil. We have got a few of the guys now joining in, which I'm glad to report. We've got the likes of Jensen here, obviously. I need to go onto my PSN app just to see who's actually in the party.
Jensen, Tom, Aries, and that's it.
That is it.
No Lynx yet, and no... Zuma doesn't really join, so we're not probably going to see Zoidema, and I don't know where Lynx is.
Yeah, hopefully Lynx will be able to join. We'll wait and see if he is going to join first and foremost. But of course, we'll go through the top 3 first, then come to Jensen, and then come to Tom in terms of the interviews. That's how I'm planning to do it here tonight. Obviously, this is if all 5 of them actually join the lobby. 3 are here, which is really good. But hopefully we're going to get the interview started very soon indeed. As I say, we're just waiting on Lynx to join. If not, he might have to go somewhere. He might be messaging me on Discord or something saying he has to go somewhere and he has to do the interview through Discord or something. But still, Pepsi, we have to wrap up that final race of the season because it was really inspired by the top 5 to stay on that set of intermediate compounded tyres. In the end, Tom Rubble couldn't catch up to the even back of Chalkers. So once again, a prediction that I made this season... Guys staying out on a set of inters. Tom and Jensen basically risked it for pretty much everything in terms of the race victory. They pitted in for a set of inters, and they couldn't even catch Chalkers in the end. So, again, I was right.
Yeah, that one. I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but I just say that incident where they just pitted. If they pitted on the safety car, probably would have led different results. But sadly, they thought staying out maybe it was going to get wet. The wet was going to get worse, but sadly, it wasn't meant to be. And if it got a little more wet, that probably would the thing that probably could have won this race, but sadly, it didn't get wet enough. As has now joined, so as we can commence on with our interviews.
We can indeed, and of course, we go to the man who finished in P1, finally getting his well-deserved victory. It is, of course, Lynx, who I've got to say was roaring and purring out on track here tonight in terms of his performance. P1 out on track, 2 second places for you last week. And this surely goes beyond what you expected going into the final race of the season. If he's here.
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, done it in one of my favourite tracks, and it was a proper tough race with the wet. You know, whether to either go to wets or stay on the inters. But yeah, just decided to just keep on the inters, and it just worked. It was really tough to keep it on track, and then yeah, just finally getting my first win. It's so tough to try and win with Jensen and Tom and all that. But yeah, they had a bit of issues today, so I was able to capitalise on it. So finally.
Finally, you've been knocking on the door. I said it in commentary. You've been knocking on the door all season in terms of picking up a race win. You got really close last week in terms of your performances in Monza. Talk us through that race, because it was a bit of a weird one. There were interchangeable conditions. I was convinced it was going to go to dries at one point. It didn't, and then went full wet again. So were you thinking that the full wets were actually quicker, especially in that second half of the race? After the safety car, did you think with the rain falling heavier, the wets were better, or were you convinced just to stay on that set of inters?
Well, on the safety car, I decided to go for inters, because on the what was it? The little tablet we get at the start. At the end, it was like a dry cloud, so we all thought it was gonna. Well, I thought it was gonna dry up at the end, so I just wanted to stay on inters and just not pit and just have track position. But in the end, it didn't get dry in the end, and then it went back to inters. So that's what won me the race. And with Jensen and Tom going to wets, you know, they were probably expecting it to last a bit longer, or for the inters to not come back. So yeah, it was supposed to dry up, but it just didn't. So it kind of helped me with that.
Yeah, it was an inspired call, I think, at the end of the day as well. Obviously, with that dry cloud being in the weather forecast, you know what Codemasters games are like, though. The weather forecast never ever goes right on this game, to be honest. But it just comes to show, I think, what a good driver you've been all season in terms of your performances. Pepsi, I'm going to come across to you, though. Any questions?
I will say one. By the way, Zoidman did join, so you can add him to the list of interviews. But back to the point. This is your first win in TTML F1, and going into next season and next game, now you kind of got that win checked off. What do you think this is going to do for your confidence heading into the next calendar year of games and new season? Do you think this is going to help kind of use it as a building block for the future?
Well, I'm hoping I'm fast on the next game, like faster than this, because obviously I want to challenge for titles in all my leagues, and especially like the tough ones like this one and PSG and all them. So hopefully the next game I can get up to speed quite fast on it, and normally have good overall pace in quali and the race. So yeah, obviously the next step is to try and take the fight to Jensen and Tom more regularly, instead of, you know, just being in the train normally where I am. So yeah, next game just gonna try and go for the titles.
Fair enough. Anything else you want to add, James, to our race winner?
Nothing else from me, I don't think. You pretty much covered the question that I was going to ask in terms of next season on the new game. So, Lynx, you are a race winner finally here in TTML. Go and enjoy your evening.
Yeah, thanks. Just want to say thanks for the commentary for this entire season. It hasn't been easy with the numbers, probably this one as well, but I'm sure this race is just as good, so I'm going to watch it. So yeah, thanks for all that.
Quality over quantity is what I always say in terms of the action out on track, and I think tonight's race just absolutely proved that. Big thank you to Lynx, of course, for that interview. We now move, of course, to the man who finished in P2, known as Aries. And Aries, you and Lynx were pretty much solid in terms of the pace out on track compared to each other. Talk us through it, because at one point I thought you were actually going to try and overtake him and maybe take a cheeky lunge in towards turn one.
Yeah, first of all, GG's to the podium, guys. Especially to Lynx. Yeah, as I said, we had pretty similar pace all over the race. I tried to go for a move in the last 5 to 6 laps, but pretty quickly realized I can't manage that, and yeah, basically just stayed behind and waited for a mistake, what he didn't do. So pretty happy with P2, and also pretty pretty happy with the season overall.
Yeah, pretty happy with the season overall, despite it only being your second podium, I think, of the season as well. Your last one, I believe, was in Jeddah, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously you took the race, you stayed out with Lynx on that set of inters. Again, same question that I asked the Lynx. Was it an inspired call to stay out on that set of inters? Or was it something nagging in the back of your mind thinking, I should probably go full wet here?
Nah, I saw in the weather forecast that it's pretty much staying the same overall the whole race. Just in the middle of the race it was a bit heavier, but I thought just stay out on the inters and you're gonna be fine. So took the chance with the safety car and went in for another set of inters, and yeah, it pretty much worked out perfectly for me.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I believe, looking at the championship standings, I have a feeling you have finished possibly P9 or P8 or P9 in the standings from this season in TTML. Obviously, as a reserve, it's a pretty good feat because I believe you're actually the second top reserving driver behind the man who finished, of course, in P3 here tonight. That's, of course, XL Dan. And you must be happy overall with how your seasons went.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't have the time overall for competing in every race, so I'm really happy with P9, if you say so. And yeah, really happy with I think it's my first season in TTML actually. So yeah, really looking forward for the next season in the next game.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be an absolute epic season. I'm absolutely guaranteed of that. Pepsi, I'm going to cross to you. Any questions? If he's here and he's not watching Indy 500 and Marcus Ericsson's leading,
no, I'm
10
still
laps
here.
to go.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. Don't worry, I'm still here. I got the thing DVR'd. But Mike was muted. So I'm picking something up. Anyway, I had a question, but I think you kind of hit it in the head with talk. Actually, I'll just say, next season, how do you feel like you're going to do with the new game coming up?
Can't really tell, obviously, because I don't have the game yet. But the things we saw from the eSport guys were really promising. And I really liked the handling model as they described it, and so I'm really excited, and I hope I have some decent pace in the new game.
Fair enough. I think everyone's kind of having that hope too. Who knows how much the engine will change. But anyway, anything else you want to add, James?
Nothing else from me. Ari's going to enjoy evening.
Thanks.
Very welcome indeed, and we'll now move on to the man who finished in P3, and of course it is XL Dan. And Dan, that name change has done you the world of wonders, I think, to finish in P3 here tonight. Talk us through it.
Yeah, the name change is basically a curse, because I was Dan before, and then I changed it to Zuidema, and then everything went downhill every single game. So I changed it back, but yeah, my race was... I was quite surprised with quali, because this is usually like a really weak track for me, especially in quali. Especially since I didn't do practice either, but I don't think most people didn't do practice. Then in the race, I was struggling a bit for pace in general, but everything was going decent. Then the safety car came out, and yeah, I was like, on new fresh tires, I'm going to be a bit quicker, and I'm mainly going to lose maybe 1 or 2 places. So I did that. And then, yeah, the rains went heavier, and some people, for some reason, went wet. But I knew, like Lynx said as well, that at the end of the pre-game thingy where the weather is, they said that it's going to dry up again, or at least drier. So I knew that I was going to stay out anyway. And then I had quite a few laps with Ewan right behind me, which was quite sweaty. But yeah, it was quite fun.
It definitely seemed that way, certainly in the final few laps of the race. And coming on to that battle with Ewan, he was really testing your mettle, I've got to say, out on track there. He was right underneath the rear wing, never launched a move for the inside. Do you feel that he could have got you, even if this lap was extended by a few more... this race was extended by a few more laps?
He definitely could have. Like, one bad exit out of the last corner and he would have had me. But he also in the chat said that he was on the 11-11 wing, so he was quite slow on the straight, which helped me as well. But he was super fast in the middle sector, but so were the top two, so... compared to me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, at least he didn't forget his setup like he did last week at Monza, and then ended up towards the back end of the field for both the sprint and the feature race. So it was a good performance, obviously, from Ewan's perspective as well. Pepsi, coming across to you, any questions? If he's here, I think his mic might be muted again.
Yeah, I got it muted. I'm checking the audio levels before they talk, because I want to make sure we don't have a moment where someone can't hear me. So don't worry. I know. Anyway, going into the next season, we'll take a quick trip to memory lane here. 2 seasons ago, you were the F2 champion when I commentated with Luke. Then F1, and you had an okay year, about 9 P10 if I'm not mistaken. Now you've kind of taken that next step forward in the races you have been able to attend, and you got some good posts here and look pretty strong. So let's continue to train on the next year's game and the new game, new season. You may not be able to make all the races. Who knows if you go far apart? But how do you think? Do you think you can get that elusive F1 win?
That would depend on who was actually signing up, I guess. But I think I don't really have the pace to do it unless all the quick guys don't sign up. But maybe if I get lucky and if the game suits me, I think that's the biggest question for everyone, like how the new game is going to adapt to everybody's driving style. Because you always see at the new game that some drivers fall off a bit and then other drivers all of a sudden get a lot of pace. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's like the EA Sports conundrum, like in all their sports, where they make the meta change just slightly. Next thing you know, one formation is better than the other one in Madden or FIFA or whatever. So, yeah, we'll have to see, though, but it's good to hear he's got a positive outlook. James, anything else you want to add to our third-place driver?
Nothing else from me, I don't think. Dan, go and enjoy Eden.
I've one thing to say, though, is congrats to Tom for winning the title, I believe. And congrats to Lynx for winning the race. I forgot to say that.
Well, you've said it now. There you go. Go and enjoy Eden.
Thank you. You too.
You're very welcome indeed. And we'll now, unfortunately, move on to the man who sadly lost his crown here tonight. And it was, of course, our TTML Season 6 champion. That is, of course, VSR Jensen. And Jensen, tonight, everything it looked like went wrong for you out on track. It just seemed like you weren't in that rhythm. You didn't have the pace over Tom in the early stages. Then that safety car came out, and then it was an even playing field again. And then you decided to go into full set of wets, and it wasn't the best race from your perspective. But talk us through it anyways.
Yeah, tried risking the wets. I don't know why, because I knew it was remember seeing it was drying up, but like Jeff said, and also Tom said in the party as well when he went onto it, sometimes it could take ages to dry up, but it was literally barely any pace difference. So in the end, ended up losing out, but Tom followed me, so we kind of both got it completely wrong. But I'd say it's still a fun little race. Had good fun in the condition. Tried catching G-Talkers at the end, but I spun trying to catch him, just overdriving a bit. But still, it was a good fun end to the season. Might not be like the title showdown that it wanted, but still, I enjoyed that. Even with the losing the title and the result.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just looking through the podiums. I'm having to try and do my calculations in my head. But you have picked up, I believe, 6 race wins this season. You have picked up... Now, I need to count aloud for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 podiums this season. All in all, that's a pretty good season for finishing second.
I think it was 5 feature race wins, anyways. If you look at the feature race wins, if me or Tom didn't decide to pay it, I think if one of us won, we would have both shared all the feature race wins this season. Which just shows how close we've kept it, and that. I think the only other guy to win was Grosso, or excuse me, Lars, at the Spa sprint.
Yep.
But
in those rainy conditions, which he won, and Tom had started on wets and went in and came back to get 7th.
But yeah, I mean, this season's been fun. I've got the constructors wrapped up with Med PC, so that's something to take away from the season.
Yeah, it's still Constructors title to wrap up, obviously, and congratulations on that Constructors title as well. And further going into my season review with you, where do you think you lost that title? I know it's a horrible question to ask, but where do you think you lost that title? Because for me, surely has to be Australia.
Monza.
Yeah, I said Monza too in the pre-race, because Monza,
Australia
points either.
Australia picked up points from that race, but Monza was the big one. Because if I didn't screw up Monza, I wouldn't have took more risk to Brazil, and all I probably would have needed is P4 or so going into Brazil. So yeah, It's kind of unfortunate. Monza's still kind of annoyed with what happened there, like the desync and that, but it is what it is. Tom's had his like half share of bad luck as well this season, so can't really complain.
Yeah, we'll always remember Imola, I think, for Tom and spinning out the race lead. I don't have to remind him of that one, that's for sure.
Sprint Belgium and Imola would be the two major flare-ups.
I'm glad that I haven't bottled it while leading. That would feel so much worse.
I probably would have, yeah, definitely. Pepsi, any questions?
I'll throw the same question I've thrown at everyone else so far. F1 2022 around the horizon. You probably got maybe one or two more leagues got to finish up first beforehand. Obviously, we don't know much about the game, but do you think you can keep the same pace going into 2022 as you have in 2021?
Hopefully. I don't think I'm going to be racing next season, seeing what the dates have changed to, because that's going to collide with another league. So, and I was planning not to race next season anyways, I think earlier on, so yeah, I think might return in a later season, maybe a couple of seasons later when I'm doing something else or whatever, but for next season wise I'm not gonna be here, and I don't know if Tom's gonna be here or not as well, because I think we're doing the same league on the Thursdays, where I think it, like TTML's changing to, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah, what I will say... Go on.
I haven't heard that update yet, but that was just me. But James, you want to continue your thought?
Yeah, I was just going to say that's all provisional at this stage of being transitioned to Thursdays. Maze has came up with this grand plan of having no assists on Thursdays, and then I think we're having line-only F3 on Thursdays, and then F4 and F5 on Fridays. That's all to be confirmed, though. I will put this in advance as well. There will be a feedback survey getting released for every single driver in the league to have your thoughts on the league going forward, and obviously on this season as well, and what we can actually improve on going forward. So that'll be released probably tomorrow, I would think, and then you can let us know your thoughts in terms of the actual action, whether you thought it was good, whether you thought the racing was absolutely bad, whether you thought you could not spend one more race with another driver. Let me know, and let us know, of course, because we want to act on that feedback, of course, and make sure TTML is good going forward. But Jensen, one final question from me. Going on to F1 22, what will be your highlight for next season? Because obviously you're not coming into TTML next season, but for you as a person, what is your aim for F1 22?
I don't know. I think I'm got my focus on PSGL at the moment, but I think to possibly qualify for the challenges, I know it's a big step, but I think it's been a game, isn't it? The full game this year. It's been my first game on no assists, so next game I'm gonna be coming in with experience, and I've got my team VSR behind me as well, who will help me through that, and hopefully might see me on the challenges grid, or maybe not, I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully you don't end up going the same way as your teammate here in TTML, because we know how that one's ended up, to be honest. But honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to commentate on you this season. Congratulations, of course, on that Constructors' Championship win, and you can go and enjoy your evening.
Yeah, thank you. Well done to Lynx on the win, by the way, and of course Tom on the title. After a nice season-long battle once again. And of course the commentary this season from you guys has been outstanding, so yeah, cheers for that.
You are very welcome indeed. And with that, we can now move on to the Season 7 Drivers' Champion here in TTML. It is, of course, Mr. Tom Robbo. And Tom, you have had probably one of the highlights of the season, pretty much as similar, if not similar, to Jensen all season long. Talk us through it, because you absolutely, in the end of the day, deserve that championship win.
Well, yeah, it was a bit of a dodgy end, but I'm happy, obviously. Just had to cover off whatever Jensen was doing, so Because in the end of the day, if that strat would have worked for him, and I didn't go for it, I probably would have lost the championship. So I knew that if I'm on the same strategy as him, I'm probably going to keep P2. In which case, I'm going to win the championship. But it was a bit... Obviously threw the win away in the end, but Lynx deserved to win the season. Many people did after me and Jensen have won every single one. Which is a bit mad. But yeah, it's been a good season. And it was a good fight with Jensen, obviously.
Yeah, it's been a really good fight all season long. Looking through your stats as well, you picked up 6 wins this season, 10 podiums altogether throughout feature and sprint races. You were less consistent in terms of the race wins and in terms of the podiums, but you were more consistent than Jensen throughout the season. What was your approach going into the final race of the season? Because obviously you had a 9-point gap over Jensen. Did you think that you were possibly going to try and win the race, or do you just felt like you need to outscore Jensen by as many points as possible to wrap up the title?
Well, yeah, I was obviously going for the race win, because you never really know what can happen, you know, like same in P2, someone could go for some reckless dive, so you want to be the one, I wanted to be the one leading, obviously, so that whoever was behind had to get through Jensen, and obviously I was doing that. I got pole with quite a nice lap. It wasn't perfect, but I obviously beat everyone else, so I'll take it. And in the race, I definitely had the pace, pulling away from Jensen, because Jensen was clearly on more of a straight line speed setup. I think he always is around Brazil. His setup was rapid on the straight, but I got the fastest lap in the end, so I knew I had the pace to win, but I didn't have to in the end, because Jensen got 7th or 8th.
Yeah, it was, I think, it wasn't really a solid race for me both, I think, here tonight, but you don't need to win to become a champion, and that's what I think we have found out, certainly, here tonight. Pepsi, any questions?
I guess I got one main question, is that, first of all, again, like I said, everyone so far, F122 in the horizon, you just won a championship, so how do you feel into next year's game?
Actually, I think over the course of this game, I've gotten a lot quicker, and getting towards the end, I've gotten much more consistent, and towards the start of the game, I could only wish and pray on Jensen's bad luck to even beat him. He was definitely clearing me, and now I feel like me and Jensen are either matched on pace, or I have the pace advantage over him. Maybe obviously at some circuits, Jensen's better circuits, he's got the pace on me, and he's
I tend to agree with that.
He's definitely better than me with the nerves and playing tactics and keeping tired temps down and stuff like that, but he's definitely an enjoyable guy to race, and he's pushed me to become better on this game, and we're obviously going to do the same in the next game. So we're both going to push for challenges, and hopefully it's not I know driving styles can come into the game, if your driving style doesn't suit the new cars, then, but I highly doubt that's going to happen.
And one more question and one more question you want to throw out. It's something that's usually said at the end of an American sporting event. Throw it out there anyway. Tom Bravo, you've just won the championship. What do you do now?
I've got one more league on a Tuesday, and I don't know, to be honest.
Fair enough. Okay. James, anything you want to add?
I know what that league is as well, because I've been commentating on them as well. So it's not as if he's escaping from my what's the word I'm looking for? My presence, let's just say, on a Tuesday. But yeah, congratulations, of course, on that race win, Tom. Not on the race win, on the championship win, I should say. Absolutely deserved it, and you can go and enjoy your evening.
Cheers, guys, and obviously, GG to Jensen, and thanks for the commentary all season. It's good to have consistent commentary being the top level, because a lot of leagues miss out on commentary, and it's quite annoying, but watching this league back every Monday is it's quite nice. So thank you for that.
You are very welcome indeed, and I think that just goes on to strive more in terms of the commentary team as well, moving forward in TTML as well. And that rounds us off very neatly for the final time in TTML this season, throughout this season, and it's been an absolute honour and a privilege to bring you the action, no matter whether it be on YouTube or Twitch, and to have great streams every single week. I know the driving standards might be absolutely crap at times, and I'm just going to put that on record now, but the commentary and everything that goes on behind the scenes makes the league take over, and I'd like to thank every single one of you, Pepsi included in this, the commentary, the admins, the stewards, every single person who's behind the scenes doing work week in, week out, quite literally, to make the league run. You are absolute heroes here in TTML, and of course, hopefully that will be continued on going into the new game as well. And from a personal level as well, I'd like to thank every single one of you at home who tuned in for every single one of these streams this season, no matter whether it be F1, F2, F3 or F4. Hopefully we've delivered something that's for everyone, and hopefully going forward as well we will continue to deliver something that is for everyone as well, because at the end of the day we are a little family, or a community here in TTML, and not many people break into that community and make a point or make a stand, but we are very happy as a community, and hopefully we will go bigger and better going on to the new game on F1 22. Pepsi, I'm going to come across to you, your final thoughts on this race, this season, and driver of the day.
All right, I guess we'll go thoughts with the race first. It was a good race. It was very fun to watch. Strategy played out. Sadly, it did not work out for some, worked out for others, but you'd love to see it. I think you're always not a big fan of the rain, but sometimes it can be a great equalizer. It was a quite great race to watch. So the season, it had its highs and lows. There were some rounds that the drive stands were very poor. I could say Australia. There were some rounds where it was crackers, and it was battling, and it was very fun to see, like in Jeddah, for example. And it was a great season overall, and it was very fun to come here all 14 rounds, watch all rounds here, and comment with you, James. And I think our commentary brings out the best in each other. And as for driver of the day, I think we got to give it to Lynx. He played that strategy to perfection. I know part of me's like, give it to Tom because he won the champion, but we're by a race, not full season. So going to Lynx, but Tom can please take that championship. And I think he may have the most drivers, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he might as well. Yeah, definitely Lynx gets driver of the day vote for me as well. It was an absolute solid race, and let's just say he purred to success, and I know he's probably not going to live that one down now, to be honest. But there we are, we've had it this season for TTML, we've really enjoyed bringing in the action, and of course, next Sunday, at the same time, is going to be very special. In fact, we're going to be slightly earlier next week, on Twitch, I believe, for the action for...
No, sorry.
Yeah,
Ignore me.
Yeah, for Twitch, for the Great Ormond Street Hospital event that's going to be taking place next week. Of course, a charity event very close to NSL Pariah's heart, who, of course, his sister suffers from... can't remember, it's some form of syndrome. I forgot the complete name of it. I'll give you it next Sunday, of course. But to run you through, of course, what's going to be happening next week, 4 leagues going at it, 4 big leagues as well going at it as well. I've had the privilege of commentating in all but one of these leagues as well, which is going to be really good. TTML versus One Hub Racing at Silverstone to kick us off at 5 PM UK time. Luke Etheridge and Pariah to take you through the action for that one. Second race is going to be LOE, League of Europe versus Fantari Racing League. My first commentary that I've ever done in FRL against LOE, of course, the league that I do on a Saturday, so that's going to be quite interesting. That's around Spa at 25 to 6. Of course, these times may change if the lobbies are running late or anything like that. Luke Etheridge and Pariah to take you through the action for that one. Then we have a change up in the commentary team. Jessica Ball and Evil Dragon, might know him as Liam as well. FRL against One Hub Racing in Jeddah at 10 past 6 UK time. Then at 7:15, we're back here in Brazil in Sao Paulo. It's Jess and Evil once again for TTML versus LOE. And then for the final 2, it's myself and you, Pepsi, going to be taking you through the action for the final 2 rounds of the Great Ormond Street Hospital event, and that is, of course, in Spielbergen and Sakia, 20 past 7 UK time, TTML versus FRL. Myself and Pepsi going to be taking you through that one, as indeed the final round, which is One Hub versus LOE. And if you want to know more, of course, about the event, you can go at TTML_F1 for all of the action. I think it's changed, actually. It might be at TML_F1 for more of the information. Jensen, I know you're going to be competing in the event as well, being the captain for FRL, which is really good to see. We've got other drivers that's going to be lining up that you might be familiar with, like XL Rocker, who's previously been in the league as well. QRT Yona, TTML F2 champion, going to be there for TTML. York, former champion, of course, in Division 2, and it's all going to be really, really good, and all for a good cause as well. So hopefully you can tune in for that one. The lineups will be posted, I'm sure, in the week. I cannot wait to bring you the action. I'm sure Pepsi can't either, and I'm sure the rest of the commentary team and the rest of everyone that's putting on the event can't either. For the Great Ormond Street Hospital charity event, and that is going to be starting at 5 PM UK time. So an early start here on Twitch for that one. And that is that for tonight, and indeed for this season in TTML. A big thank you to every single one of you, the drivers who make this league take over, and to every admin, steward, and every division admin, steward, commentator in the background, running behind the scenes, Maze included, and all the league directors as well. We want to wish you, of course, a very good off-season, and hopefully everyone gets rested up for the new game, which is coming out in around a month's time. But until then, until next week for the Great Ormond Street Hospital charity event, I've been James Head, he's been Pepsi Freak. Thank you so much for watching, and until next season in TTML, goodbye.